want to be in here.
What the hell are they?
They're us, that's all. There's no more room in hell.
What?
Something my granddaddy used to tell us. You know Macumbo? Voodoo. Granddad was a priest in Trinidad. Used to tell us, when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
Got a nice cold tea.
Cold tea.
It's a problem with this mug. It's too big. So every time I make a cup of tea, if I forget about it, by the time I get down to like a quarter, it's cold as anything.
Really?
I
Well,
know.
you should get
It's
one of those desk coffee warmers.
Oh,
They're like
yeah.
little USB desk coffee warmers. They're great.
I need to get one of those. I did see there is a self-stirring mug, which I might have to buy.
Yep.
I did see that. I have to get that. I did. There is a travel mug which is just filled with skulls, and I was like, "That's my next coffee mug."
That's a horror mug right there.
Oh yeah, keeping it on brand.
Well, there we go, folks. There's a nice adult public service announcement on keeping your tea and coffee warm. Welcome back to the Dreadcast. This is episode 6, but part two of our top 5 horror movie countdown. A little break from film reviews
horror
and
movies.
whatnot. Even though, I say a little break. I realized this last time I was editing it. I think I said like a break from film reviews and whatnot, and yet what are we doing?
Still doing it.
What are we doing?
Well,
He said-
okay, yeah. So yeah, technically they're film. Well, they're not full film reviews. They're more like, oh, I liked this film because it did this. Which I mean, we'll get like I was saying just before we start recording. When I have a go at when I talk about my number 4 choice, it's a crap film. It's just
Free
so
choice.
bad. It's
Free.
terrible.
Free. We did
Free
4
cho-
last
free
time.
choice?
We did 5 and 4 last time.
We did. Oh, it's 3 and 2 this time, isn't it? Yeah. My number 3 choice. It's a horrible film. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But it has a special place because it's of what it did at the time, which is good.
Now I have 2 things. I kept this off the preamble before we recorded. 2 things I want to talk about before we actually get into it. Number one. As of last time, I mentioned in part 1 of our top 5. I mentioned one of my top 5s is Wreck. You, in this time, have watched Wreck.
I have. That was a really good film. I loved it.
Yeah.
I liked it because it was the way that it was filmed, which was obviously the journalistic, late night TV kind of.
It's like a fly on the wall documentary.
Yeah, final documentary. It worked super well.
Yeah.
Because I can see why they would keep the camera rolling, as I think we said in part 1. Whereas that's the problem with a lot of found footage is you're looking at going, why on earth are you still recording?
Exactly.
Especially when you get to films like, what's that film? Cloverfield.
Yes.
It's like an alien is destroying your city. Everyone knows it's there now. Trust me, it's not getting off the news. Put your damn camera down and run.
And that's exactly what we talked about. Again, while I was listening back to editing that episode, you mentioned that, and it really got me thinking. I adored that Cloverfield film, but it's one of those things when you really think back at it with a point of view like that, you think, yeah, this is so dumb.
Oh, yeah.
This is so dumb. Do you think, topical here, do you think people in Ukraine 24/7 filming, I mean, no matter where you are in the world, there are people that have their phones out trying to record bad shit.
Yeah.
But I'm talking constantly? I mean, probably not.
Well, that's the thing. It's whenever you see these YouTube videos and it's like, oh, I caught this dude having a punch up with this other dude. And I'm like, well, then just put your phone down and stop it. It's like, oh my God, this dude, like, I don't know, is kicking a dog in the high street. And I'm like, I don't need to see that on camera. If you told me I saw a dude kicking a dog, I stopped it and be like, well done, lad. Rather than, I didn't need you to film this and put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
exactly. It's the context of the filming.
Oh yeah. It was admittedly it was annoying. I found it on where did I watch it? I watched it on Amazon Prime. That was it.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime Video. Annoyingly, I had to watch it with adverts, which was a bit annoying because
wow.
it wasn't completely available on Amazon Prime.
Right.
So I had to technically watch it on IMDb TV. I don't know. It was one of these weird things.
I mean, I have it on Blu-ray. You could have just borrowed that.
I could have just borrowed it. Yeah, I should have just done that. That would have been so much easier. But so every now and then, it would get to a really like tense bit, and then Darren Brown would pop up going, "Are you stressed?" I'm like, "I am right now, yes."
Yeah.
Because I'm watching a horror film.
Thank you, Darren Brown.
I'm now stressed because you just popped out of nowhere. But aside from that, I mean, to be fair, it kind of made it as if I was watching a TV documentary with like a little advert break. It's like, okay, we've shown you this part. We've got to take a break now.
Yeah.
But I really like. I mean, it was the first shaky cam. Well, not shaky cam. That's the wrong thing. Found footage film that I watched that I actually enjoyed. And to be fair, the shaky cam in this was very minimal, which I think really helped. They kept the camera quite steady, which is nice, and I think that kind of played into the fact that it was a journalistic cameraman doing the filming, rather than some dude who's literally holding a camera and he's running around shaking it every single chance he can get, which is quite nausea-inducing. And I must admit, I felt really bad for the girl. I can't remember her name. What was her name?
Oh my God,
I want to say Anna for some reason. I have no idea what her name is.
Anna and Lucy are the two leads from...
Oh, they're from Martyrs.
Martyrs, which we were talking about the other day.
Yeah, so it's not her.
Oh, this is bad. This is highly embarrassing.
I know.
Quickly, internet, quickly. I'm searching.
This is your favorite. This is one of your favorite films. You should know this off by heart. But anyway, I felt really
Angela.
bad for her.
Angela.
That was the name. I felt really bad for Angela.
Yeah.
Because she honestly, I mean, whoever the actress is, we're not going to look up her name now. She played the role perfectly.
Oh yeah.
Because she really looked terrified in a lot of this, and I so hoped that they didn't tell them what they were doing half the time, and they just threw stuff at them to make it scary. And I really hope it is, because she played it very well. And it's interesting because in terms of this, I don't want to do a full film review about this because we'll do a full film review of this later.
I'm sure it will. Yeah.
Their set was really cool. I liked the fact that it was a single tower block.
That's all it is.
That was it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And also, I won't go into what happens in it because obviously that will give away, most of the film. And to be fair, it's only an hour long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, roughly.
Well, it's about an hour and 20.
Hour 20. It doesn't feel. I mean, it felt longer when I was watching it. It did feel longer, which was good. Not in a bad way. It didn't feel like it was dragging on.
How about the last 10 minutes?
Oh my God, that ramped up so quick. And see, I have to watch Rec 2. And I know it's about an hour and a half. I haven't got around to watching Rec 2 yet. And I know it starts 15 minutes after the first film, which is quite good. Mm-hmm. So I'm really interested in seeing that. But the last 10 minutes is when, obviously... Oh, I can't really go into this because it'll give away spoilers. But when you find out more of the backstory lore as to potentially what is happening...
there is lore.
In this.
There is lore in this film, which...
See, I think they deliberately misdirect you. And I think they do. Because obviously there's... When the stuff happens, and then obviously like the building is kind of blocked off.
Yes,
that doesn't give away anything. You're like, oh,
no,
so
it's quarantined off.
It's quarantined off, and you're kind of like, oh, so this is going on and everything. And then of course you have the last 10 minutes. You're like, wait, hang on, is this happening instead, or is it? And I didn't know what to think about it, so I sat there like, I hope they continue this in Rec 2 and they finally explain it. And
they do. I'm telling you.
Oh, they do.
Now,
okay, cool. Oh, excellent. That's what I wanted to hear. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Point about Rec 2. So, as you said, you are going to watch Rec 2, which I'm glad you should do because you should. It is one of the more solid horror sequels, in my opinion. Now, this leads on to the second thing I wanted to bring up quickly before we go back into our films. Yeah. We're doing a part 2 now.
Yep.
I'm hoping this is as good as the first.
I'm hoping. Going to say.
Here's hoping we can do a as good episode as the first. Rec 2 is as good as the first, not as good as the first, if that makes sense. The first is so unique and fantastic. The second one, it holds its own. It does a good. It tells a good story, and in my opinion, wraps it up. You don't need 3 and 4 to do whatever it does.
Yeah, I saw the breakdowns for those, and I was like, they sound crap.
Can you think of a few sequels that are really solid in the horror world? To me, the ones that come to my head, I think Friday the 13th Part 2 is better than Part 1.
That's the one that I just thought.
Yeah, I'm not just thinking films that are better than the first, but just are as good-ish. Like Halloween 2 is okay until we get the whole Laurie is his sister. Like they had to shoehorn in the family. Hellraiser 2 is good.
Yeah, Hellraiser 2 is good. I like that one.
Texas Chainsaw
Nightmare on Elm
2.
Street.
No, I hated Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is the better sequel. That's not Dream Warriors. That's it is.
What is Dream Warriors? I knew that. Yeah. Okay, it is that one.
Yeah.
Because I've got the Jaws IMDb page up. I'm not going to say Jaws because Jaws. I mean, Jaws. To be fair, compared to Jaws 3 and 4, Jaws 2 is like a masterpiece.
Yes.
In filmmaking.
Yes.
But it's nowhere as good as the first Jaws, because the first Jaws was we'll get onto Jaws, I'm sure, at some point.
Yeah.
I can't actually think of any sequels that are as. I mean, to be fair, the first thing that really did come to my mind was Terminator 2, but it's not really it's tricky because Terminator, obviously we said this last week, in our eyes, is a horror film because it is pretty. It's got a lot of horror elements. Terminator 2, not so much. It is definitely a sci-fi action film. The horror elements are kind of very thrown out the window.
Yeah.
With maybe a bit of body horror when he's like, he's peeling off his skin arm to show the dude he's a machine. But apart from that,
it's not overly horror.
It's not. No. I can't really think of any. No. Oh no. I don't think there is.
I can't think of any that trump the first. Apart from possibly Friday the 13th, but Friday the 13th 1 is such a unique film on its own. It's true. It's just a good film on its own, but Part 2 as the Friday the 13th series is a better film, in my opinion.
Plus, obviously, you were introduced to Jason at that point in time.
Exactly.
I'm just having a look at 7 modern horror sequels that were better than the original. Let's have a quick look.
One I will say that isn't, if you've ever seen Slumber Party Massacre, it's an incredible slasher film. Incredible, simple slasher film that doesn't need any like backstory or whatnot.
Oh no.
There is a slumber party, there is a maniac on the loose. Put them two together, you get a slasher film. That's it.
It was so good.
The sequel to that is one of the shittiest sequels I've ever seen to a horror film.
I love the Slumber Party Massacre films, and even the cheerleader massacre films.
You've seen the sequel? You've seen the sequel?
I have.
With he's kind of like a prince lookalike with his drilling his guitar that's got a drill on the end.
Yeah.
Is that film a dream? Is it a alternate reality? It's bizarre, and it's.
I remember. I got hold. This is when I will admit this is when torrents started coming out, and I got hold of the entire like Slumber Party Massacre torrent. Yeah. And I binged them, and I just laughed my head off because they're so bad. I mean,
they're
it's
insane.
Like, I wouldn't even call it a B movie horror. It's not even. It's further down the list than that. It's just they're just bad, but at the same time, I think when they made it, they're like, we know this film is crap, but we don't care.
I would hope that's their mindset, rather than thinking we're going to make a killer slasher sequel here.
Oh yeah. Now I'm on this list, which is 7 modern horror sequels better than the original. I don't agree with any of these films.
Go on then. Give us a rundown.
So number 1, apparently, this doesn't look like there's any order. So they have The Conjuring 2 is better than the first one.
I am afraid until we get around to maybe talking about those films, I have no stake in The Conjuring, Annabelle, Insidious, any of these sort of films. They all sort of fall into the same film from my eyes. The Nun, they all just cheap jump scares. Go on.
This one, so the second one is Ouija Origin of Evil. Now, I will admit, Origin of Evil was slightly better, but it's still not that good.
Sounds like a straight-to-video on demand.
Yeah. You have The Purge Anarchy, which, again, I don't think so, because The Purge was really good.
I'm getting the feeling this list isn't talking about anything maybe 2010.
Maybe.
This list feels very modern.
No, that's not. No, there is one.
Okay, all right, go on.
I don't know if we'll agree with it. So another one is The Devil's Rejects.
Now, I think it's Rob Zombie's best film.
I'd agree with that. I mean, House of a Thousand Corpses was pretty creepy. I did like that.
Yeah, it was his own take on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, cannibal story. and it is a sequel, I guess. Yeah, I guess it is the sequel.
Oh yeah.
I'm
They
just
made
trying.
a third one, didn't they?
Yeah,
Devil
that's
Rejects.
bad. That's bad. Free
Yeah.
from Hell. No,
Oh, that was it.
Devil's Rejects is better than House of Thousand Corpses, I would say.
There you go. Okay, so
Yeah,
they made. So
okay.
we got 1 point. We're giving 1 point.
Yeah, I'll give it that.
Now, the one after that was Scream 2.
No, Scream 2 is
Yeah.
not better than Scream 1, but it is a very competent sequel.
Oh yes, it works very well, but it's not better than Scream.
No,
The one
no,
after
no.
that is Saw 3, which I don't agree with. Because the
Saw-
problem is, for me, the Saw films just got worse over time.
Saw 2 is in the house.
Saw 2 is the booby-trapped house with the
with, like,
kid in the safe.
Addicts and whatnot. Yeah, Saw 3.
Saw 3 is the one where
Where's that set?
a lot of the traps are unescapable. So obviously Jigsaw's motive is you have to be able to escape. It's probably going to hurt. Well, of course it's going to hurt in a horrible way. But a lot of the traps in the Saw 3 film, they were done by Amanda.
Oh, is
So
Saw
Jigsaw's
3
assistant.
is Saw 3 the film where Jigsaw is dying and they kidnap the doctor to take a tumor out or fix a tumor in his brain? Amanda's there as well. And
Yes.
the doctor's husband is the one going through all the traps while people are in these traps. It's got
Yes,
the
that's right.
got the crucifix trap in it, which
Yes,
is horrific.
that's the one.
That's one of the
Yeah, yeah.
worst traps ever.
It's
Okay.
got the angel wings one as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that one was-
Yes.
That one was pretty nasty.
Yeah.
So, but I still wouldn't. I mean, Saw was just groundbreaking. It was great.
Yeah.
And the last one apparently is It Chapter 2.
I didn't like it one.
No, I
didn't
It
like
Chapter
it.
2 for me was just naff. Yeah. I mean,
I like the original It with Tim Curry,
oh yeah, the 1990s miniseries.
but the new one I found. I watched it in the cinema. The first one I didn't saw Chapter 2, but the first It film, the new first one, I found it very predictable. When I was in the cinema, I'm like, okay, this is going to happen. I can tell this jump scare is going to happen. It felt very predictable, and that's not for me. I've never read the story. I don't know the story by heart. I know it's about the clown, which is basically like a fear.
Yeah.
But a lot of the jump scares felt cheap and predictable to me.
See, I've got another list, but I don't want to. I think what we could do is we could do an episode on these, because some of these films I think we'll just have a laugh ripping them to pieces.
Oh, I agree. I just wanted to get that. Oh, go on. You got one more. He's got one more. He's getting
This
excited.
list cannot be good, because on
He's
this other
getting
list,
excited.
horror sequels that were better than the original, they put Rec 3. No.
What?
Yeah, Rec 3.
What
Oh,
what
no.
website is this list?
This is 80s kids. This is some random thing. But Rec 3, no way.
Oh boy. No. Okay. Well, that's a good note to end this discussion on.
Oh, let's be fair. Some of these. Oh, but number 1 was A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, though. So there you go.
Yes, that is
Okay.
no doubt the best night. It's the best Nightmare on Elm Street, in my opinion. I think it's better than number 1.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm not a huge Freddy fan. I
No,
don't.
me either.
I rank him lower than my two. To be fair, my two favorite slashers. It's not Freddy. Sorry, it's Jason and Chucky. I think those two
Okay,
are just
okay, yep.
incredible, especially the new Chucky series. Oh,
Yes.
so good. Loved it. Go watch that, people. There you go.
So,
But anyway,
numero trio
yes, number 3. Do you
for
want to go
Yuo.
first this time?
Do I?
Oh,
wanna
you
go
want me to do it? Well, because I went first last time.
I'll go first this time then.
You go first after that.
Fuck it. I'll do it. Let me
Go
get
on
my
then,
script.
son.
Let me get my script up. So look, I'm reading my teleprompter.
Oh,
Only because I have quite a lot written on this, but I'll try and get through it as quick as possible.
that'll probably help, because what I have written for my numero 3 is like not much.
That's fine. So obviously for myself, as we discussed in the last episode, our number ones are our solid number ones.
Yes.
As are our number 2s, I believe.
Yeah, so I would say I changed my number 2 because I
Yeah.
took out Friday the 13th,
Yeah.
but that was
Spoiler.
because, spoiler, it's not in my top 5.
Yeah.
But that's because as much as I love Jason Voorhees and the series, it didn't like groundbreakingly impact me, so I took it out.
Okay. So 1 and 2 are have their significant places, whereas 5,
Yeah.
4, and 3 could be mixed around. They're all third place in a way.
Yeah.
Okay,
The bronze tiers.
yes, the bronze tiers. There we go. So for myself, 5 and 4 last time I mentioned Martyrs, the French horror film, and Wreck, Spanish horror, coming out around the same time, late 2000s. Highly recommend watching both if you haven't listened to the first episode. Also, go back and listen to the last episode, and you'll hear our number 5 and 4s. But for number 3, just reaching out of the top 2 spot. Now, to some, this is not a scary film.
Okay.
It's not really a scary jump. It's not a jump scary film. It's not scary. It is a horror film, but it's not a scary film, unless you watched it back in maybe 1978 when it came out. Now, 1978 is a golden year for horror.
Yes, it was.
Because we had this and Halloween. I mean, them two alone.
Okay,
And
I thought you were going to say Halloween. Oh.
Oh, no, no. And when I say this, I mean the original Dawn of the Dead.
Ah, of course.
George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead, which is a sequel to George A. Romero's masterpiece, Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah,
which came out 10 years prior. Now, I think we've mentioned over a few episodes about certain sequels that have taken a long time to come out. This has to be up there with one of them. A 10-year gap between the next sequel. Now, I don't think it's the biggest.
That beat Texas Chainsaw Massacre because that was 7, I think.
No,
that was longer.
Well,
the sequel came out.
Original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was 1974. TCM2 was, let me check my beautiful list.
I believe it was 1980 something.
What does my list say? Where's my list?
That's right. It's 1986. So it was 12 years.
That's a 12
Okay, so not as long.
It's still a significant gap, but I think you can give it to them because of the fact that George A. Romero's early films were not big Hollywood blockbuster films. They're indie films, basically. And this one specifically was only made for $1.5 million. Dawn of the Dead, 1978.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
to be fair, that was quite a lot back then.
Yeah, back then. You talk about inflation and whatnot. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, true.
So, like I said, it's not the scariest film, and especially wouldn't be today. You look at the zombies. Tom Savini's work on the zombies. They are comical looking. They look grey, then blue.
Yep.
The blood.
I have the picture of them up right now, and you can tell they've literally just got blue face paint smeared on them, and like, there you go, off you go.
Yeah, the makeup wasn't one of Savini's best, and we all know Tom Savini is God, along with Greg.
He got better.
Greg Nicotero and a few others.
The
blood itself is. This pen I'm holding right now, viewers, you cannot see it, but it's very red. It's like a child's poster paint. It's red.
Crayola red. Yeah.
Crayola red. And the paint, the blood wasn't great in this until we get to Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead is Tom Savini's, in my opinion, masterpiece. But, so where was I? Let me get back to my script. So, much like the previous, being Night of the Living Dead, being built on inspiration of real life stuff, racial events, political strife, and just the late 60s of the United States, which was a shit trash fire.
Oh yeah.
Dawn of the Dead. The best way to describe it, it uses the everyman zombie to kind of show America's maybe not even America, the world's deep descent into the consumer culture. Because it was around that time. It was around that time in the 70s where it was really starting to boom. The film itself, set in a shopping mall. I think if you're a horror fan, if you've not seen Dawn of the Dead, you've heard of Dawn of the Dead, or even just seen the remake, the shopping mall is iconic with Dawn of the Dead. That is,
it is
the key set piece. I mean, that's where it is. And the zombies are the perfect representation of people. Because this sounds really deep, but we ourselves are the zombies. We are with consumer culture, walking around shopping centers, just mindlessly. Look at that in the window, just window shopping. You don't even know what's going on behind you. Yeah,
I mean, I did that today. To be fair, I did that today when I was out with the missus and her daughter. I was saying to you earlier, I would literally walk past the geek shop in there, saw a NECA Raphael Frankenstein thing, and I know I can't buy it because I'm saving up for a house. But even then, I just looked at it and went, "Oh, I should buy that," and I was like, "I don't need it, but I should just buy it." And even when I talked to the missus, she went, "No, you don't need it." I'm like, "I know, but I just want to have it."
But I need it. But
Exactly.
I must have
need
it. I mean, look
Yeah.
at again. This is only an audio podcast. Eventually, we'll get to a video. I am still working on that, but as you can see behind me, T,
Oh yes.
I am a consumer whore.
What? Yeah, I was literally when you were talking about Dawn of the Dead, I was like, should I pull my collector's Dawn of the Dead out? But I know
No,
that
I've
gets
seen
you
it
a bit.
before. We don't need to see that again. We don't need to see that again. You don't need to brag. Don't need to brag. Don't need to go down that road.
Nope.
But it's funny talking about that though. That 78, we're nearly 50 years on, and this film still resonates with daily lifestyle of the everyman consumer culture. Just zombies. Everyone is just zombies, and it's incredible. Like that still hits home as to how we all are.
Well, it is exactly. It's still here because if you think about it, if you turn on the TV, actually, don't need to turn the TV on now. If you go on YouTube, you are always being pumped full of adverts, either for a service, a product, or something else that you need to have.
You must have it.
You must. It's like you have to have. Even then, if you think about, it's taking a bit of a deep dive. If you think about especially when we were in school, it was like the careers fair, and it was like, well, what do you want to do? Like, I don't know. It's like, well, you need to get a house, you need to get a mortgage, you need to get married, you need to have kids. This is what you have to do.
Yeah.
This is the set lifestyle. You then get retirement, and it's like, oh, is that what I have to do? Oh, okay, I guess that's what I have to do. And that's actually what a lot of people do is they go, right, I just need to do the 9 to 5. That's apparently what I do. And anyway, that's a whole other.
I know
podcast.
exactly what you're saying. I was actually talking to someone about this the other day, and how we're all so wired into that lifestyle. Of that is how everyone should live their life. If you deviate, you're a bit weird.
Oh dear.
No. This is you're in your zombie mindset. You do this, you do that. You don't change like a zombie. You're just focused on. I know what you're focused on. I mean, you're not focused on brains because that was only introduced in Return of the Living Dead 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Return of the Living Dead 1, fun fact, folks, is the origin of, I don't know, if you went to a fancy dress party dressed as a zombie and you're going, brains. That is the film it first originated in. All zombies before that are just mindless, reanimated corpses, just with a hunger for just eating and flesh. You're just mindless animals. You're just drones. That's all you are.
I can't remember which film it was, but someone asked a question in a film, and it was like, well, why are these zombies? Why are they biting us? Why are they eating us?
Yeah.
And I think this guy came up with this very clever explanation. It's like, well, their brains shut down when they died. And when they reanimated, they're operating on the primal level.
Exactly.
And if you were to look at an animal, its primal drive is, I have to eat.
Yeah.
It's like wherever the next source of food is, if I find it, I eat it. That's all I do. And then I move on. Oh, I eat again.
Eat or be eated? Eated.
Eaten?
Eated.
Do you want to go with
I'd rather go with eated because it shows I tried.
We'll go with eated.
And trying is half the battle.
It's true.
Now, I did briefly mention the remake. Now, there was a remake of Dawn of the Dead, and it's probably one of the better horror remakes. You could put it in the pile with Evil Dead, done by I always get his name on, Fede Alvarez, who did unfortunately work on the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
But Evil Dead's okay. The remake of Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Which is solid. And the remake of Texas Chainsaw, which we have talked about before.
That was good.
So it kind of falls into those competent films. And it's Zack Snyder's first his directorial debut. And it's arguably his only good film, his best film, in my opinion. Zack Snyder's best film.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of any Zack Snyder films. I mean, I know he did Justice League. Well, he kind of did Justice League. He did it and then he stopped doing it. Apart from that, I can't really. I mean, I know he did. What was that film that came up recently? Army of the Dead.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was bad. It's just kind of one of those like mindless, like, I'm just gonna watch it. Past 2 hours.
The thing with his remake, his version being competent, is that we still get holed up inside the shopping mall for the majority, which, like I said, in my opinion, is the main cog of the film. It's the main set piece. The main piece of the puzzle are zombies, which they're not like the original in the remake. They're at that point
modern.
they followed. They're modern. They followed the trend of the fast, aggressive zombies, which it doesn't work as well as the mindless drones in the shopping mall. Mindless drones in the shopping mall, zombies, that connects. Aggressive zombies in the shopping mall, it's almost like the shopping mall is just another set they've just run into, you run out of, and whatnot. The mindless drones in the shopping mall is like that makes sense.
That's their habitat. What was that horror game where it's set in a shopping mall? It's like something.
Dead Rising.
Yeah. That was it. Yep.
Great fun. Great. That's just a good, fun zombie game.
Oh yeah. Takes the photos of zombies, bash a few brains in. Perfect.
Now, back to 1978.
Yes.
And Dawn of the Dead. So practically, like I said, practically independent film, edited and directed by Romero, and he stars in it. He makes a brief cameo at the beginning in the TV station, right at the beginning. So
okay.
I'm going to try and do a simple synopsis. If you've never seen Dawn of the Dead, it is technically a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, but the Romero Dead films never specify that they follow on from each other or characters continue. It's kind of just like a slow, ongoing apocalypse happening. Night of the Living Dead, you never see the beginning of it. It just
happens.
The main characters, actually the best way, the main characters in theory walk into what's happening. They don't choose. Okay. They don't choose to. They just walk into the situation in a way and have to deal with it. Dawn of the Dead, the situation's happening and people know that we're working on it. So we have four main characters that meet about a quarter of the way in. We have a news reporter and a news reporter in the sky, like a traffic guy you'd have in a helicopter. Male and female, they're together. They try and escape the news station. The news station is hectic. There are reporters losing their mind. There are doctors and theorists on the TV trying to work out what the hell's going on. They want to shut the station down. People are evacuating and whatnot. This couple, they get in a helicopter. They want to escape.
Yeah.
Our other two main characters are two SWAT team members who are currently dealing with a pretty, at the time, I'm going to say very racist situation in a slum apartment block building that they're trying to evacuate people. I never actually understood what this was. I believe two people part of the police SWAT team currently raiding a low-income housing project that predominantly houses Black and Latino tenants who are defying the martial law of delivering any dead bodies to the National Guard of authorities. That's a pretty bad thing, but at the time, a lot of racial issues in America.
Yes, there were.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Things turn very ugly when the residents of the building start to fight back. Not aggressively, but they start to resist. And we also encounter another SWAT team member who incurs one of the best head explosions in any horror film, in my opinion. Do you know this head explosion?
I believe you discussed this with me. I can't remember what it is, but I know we've had a chat about it.
Okay, so one SWAT team member, I'll get this quick. One SWAT team member is going through the building, kicks through a door, and blows this guy's head open, like a scanner's head explosion. Now, the head in question is actually a a cast of other female lead character who I just mentioned. They were going to use it in a scene later on in the film, but they didn't. So they had this head. They filled it with all trash and shit from the kitchen.
Nice.
Put some fake hair on it, sprayed it, airbrushed it black, did a more a black skin tone.
Yeah.
And they blew that the fuck up. That's Tom Savini with a shotgun, one take, boom, blew it the hell up.
Nice.
And our two lead SWAT team members take this guy down. It moves on. We then move down to the basement of the building where they're trying to collect themselves, trying to get a bit more calm. They find more bodies down there where the tenants of this building have been holding them up. Can't believe what they're seeing. Take them out. They leave. They get the hell out of there because it's just escalating one thing after the other. Okay, where was I? We had a technical issue there. Our two SWAT team members meet up with our other lead actor and actress, and our four heroes move on to try and find somewhere safe to hold up for a while. Now we don't get to the mall straight away. We fly off in the helicopter, looking for somewhere safe to stop by. We land. We have to fill up the helicopter. We encounter more zombies. We get a classic zombie death where a zombie is walking towards them while they're fueling up the helicopter, and one of the helicopter blades chops off his head.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it chops off the top of his head, and you can see the effects. Like, they've built his head like a lurch, lurch from the outside.
Oh, yes.
Much
yes,
higher.
yes.
He's got a flat top, and it just, boom, picks it off, and blood starts dribbling down.
Oh,
great
excellent.
Great effect. And there's also that scene where you can see a zombie on the back of a motorbike driving by on the background.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know they could do that.
Yeah. So eventually our four heroes, they find a shopping mall, somewhat abandoned. There's some of our friends still lurking around. They clean it up. They dispose of the bodies. They barricade it. And, I mean, you're in a shopping mall. It's any kid's dream, really.
Oh, yeah.
But what's good is that over time, they start to feel... I think they start to feel bored. They start to feel like, what are we doing? We need to think of a plan. We need to move on. We're in theory stuck here. This is not actually as good as it sounds. And things then do start to go from boredom to bad to really bad to worse when they get invaded by a biker gang. They have to figure out what to do. They have to try and escape. Yeah, it's not the best description.
Dawn of the Dead isn't the film where they use a lawnmower, is it?
No,
As a
that is
weapon?
Brain Dead / Dead Alive.
Okay, I'm thinking of something
Peter
else
Jackson's
completely.
second film. Yeah. Yeah.
Peter Jackson did not think... Okay.
Peter Jackson's
Yeah, he did
first
horror.
two films, Bad Taste and Dead Alive.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Well, fair enough. There you go. The more you know.
Now, there is also, I mean, for the time, there's quite a shocking scene where back at the point where they are filling up the fuel for the helicopter, they just rummage around the area of the filling up station, and Peter, he's one of the SWAT team members. He's actually played by Ken Foree, who is Keenan's dad from Keenan and Kel.
No way.
And he rummages through a building, opens up this cupboard door, and two zombie kids run out and try and attack him. And it's shown, he blatantly just shoots them in the head to defend himself. That is an iconic scene for that time. I mean, you can get away with they're zombies, they're already dead. But it's still, that is a really tough scene to get away with.
Yeah, because if you think about it, even in modern... I'm guessing it was shown on camera.
Yeah, you see the squibs go off in their head, in their chest.
Because if you think about modern horror films, to be fair, any film, especially anything to do with either like anyone under the age of 18 or children, the example I can think of is in Hereditary, where
yes,
bit of a, I mean, it's no, it's not a spoiler. It sets up the film because everything that happens in the film, it happens after this. Is even when where it happens to her fate, you don't see it on camera.
No,
and I think that is because, especially modern, I don't know what the word is. Modern people now in 2022, a lot of, especially like parents, are a bit like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see like something happening to a kid, especially if they have kids of their own.
Somebody think of the children.
Yeah, because I think they're like, oh, you wouldn't do that to a kid, would you? And it's like, well, it's in the story, I've got to, but I'll do it off camera, so it's implied, but you never see it. Whereas back in those days, they were like, yeah, kids are tough, they'll be fine.
Yeah, they're tough.
They're
70s kids were tough. They could take a bullet. Oh.
They can take a bullet.
Especially when they're zombies.
Exactly. Their parents are like, oh, get up and walk it off. Come on now.
Just brush it off. It's just a bullet.
You got homework to do. Yeah, sorry, Mum. Okay.
So let me summarize that description, because I went off on many tangents there. We have 4 lead characters, 2 working at a news reporting station, TV station, 2 part of the SWAT team. They eventually escape whatever scenario they're in. They meet up. They arrive at a shopping mall. They hunker down. They live a lavish lifestyle for a certain amount of time. One of the SWAT team members gets a bit complacent. He gets bitten. One of the news reporters gets bitten. They have to start to deal with that. They get invaded by a biker gang. They have to deal with that. It's then time to escape, move on.
Yeah.
That is basically Dawn of the Dead. It's like many things with zombies. The zombies aren't really the enemies at times. I would say that about Walking Dead. The zombies aren't the main factor of the drama is how the humans interact with each other, how they interact with their settings, their whereabouts. The zombies in Dawn of the Dead, they're not fast, they're slow. They even state we could just walk right by them. We could just walk right by them.
Yeah.
And you can.
I would say, because obviously a lot of people, I would say in terms of like apocalypses, I think a zombie one is the one that most people are like, oh, I'd rather not have that. Because most people are like, I'd rather not be a zombie. Because let's face it, in terms of like fates, that one's pretty horrendous. If they were like, oh, we're having the werewolf apocalypse. I think personally for me, I'd be like, I go out, like smother myself in peanut butter and be like, come on now, just have a little chow down. It's like, I'd love to be a werewolf. It'd be great. It'd be amazing fun. But I think it's when you mentioned The Walking Dead, even if I remember right, even the writers, Alan Moore, was like, it's not a zombie series. It's a human drama series. The zombies are just kind of in the background somewhere.
I think Walking Dead is Robert Kirkman.
It's Robert Kirkman, not Alan Moore, sorry.
Yeah.
I think
Alan Moore is a wizard. Alan Moore is a wizard.
He is, yes. Yeah, that's right. He does look like a wizard. But it's like you said, with the zombies, if you think about it, in terms of all the zombie horror films, it's never the main drama, as you said, always comes from the survivors always inadvertently find a way to annoy each other. And then it's like, oh, I hate that person. It's like, oh, look, zombies have broken in. It's like, oh, quickly, we can get rid of him if we just lock him out the door.
Yeah. Which is what I like with this film, is that the main four survivors never have any conflict, never really have any tension. They really are trying to survive, which I think that's more real than the Walking Dead aspect of
well, the Walking Dead is
all this drama,
ramped up.
all this ramped up drama. Like, the only conflict we really have here is when the biker gang comes in. Biker gang doesn't give a shit. They're looking out for themselves. Even if there's humans there, we're gonna mess with them. But there's not really much drama between them, and I like that. And this all kind of goes back to what I was saying about how this isn't really a scary film. Maybe back in 1978 it is, but to me it's such an important horror, zombie genre horror film, because it's Night of the Living Dead was groundbreaking, but Dawn of the Dead was the one that really solidified it as like the peak zombie film at that point.
Oh yeah, I believe I don't know if it was Night of the Living Dead, but there was a series that came out recently. Was it Black Mirror? It may have been Black Mirror. It was no, it was Creepshow. Sorry, it was Creepshow. The newest Creepshow. Yeah. And it was one of this guy. He's a massive horror fan. He loves horror films, but he's also a massive like tech geek. And he devises a device that allows him it's kind of like an Animus from Assassin's Creed.
Yep.
Like this VR thing, and he lies in it, and he gets he puts a film on that he wants to be in, and it puts him into the film, and he's in there, and it's a very well filmed thing.
Okay.
And he can interact. They put him in such a way that it looks like he's actually interacting with the films that they spliced in, which is great fun. And if I remember rightly, the intro is, it might not be, but I believe it's the graveyard scene from Night of the Living Dead. And he's in it, and these zombies start appearing, and he's like, oh dear, I have to escape from this. Oh no, it's at the end. No, there's some stuff that happens, and he gets locked into this film, which he can't escape from. Which, if I remember rightly, is that.
The graveyard scene in Night of the Living Dead, there's a very famous line where, because it's a sister and brother that are going to the grave. I can't remember their father or mother, and they're coming to get you, Barbara. Very famous line. And so that's, I don't know if you'll know if that's in it or not, but
I don't think the line is. Okay. The line's not, but it's a homage to it. So you've got that kind of like, the graveyard and zombies in black and white. So you're like, well, there's only one scene like that. You should definitely check out that Creepshow episode, though. I
love the Creepshow films, and I do. Again, I have more time to watch films than I do TV shows, and there's so many TV shows I want to watch.
The Creepshow ones are good because they're only about 20 minutes long.
Yeah,
so they're very short. There are some good ones. Some of them are a bit like, there's one with a genie, which is really quite interesting.
Okay.
Some of the episodes you kind of like they're a bit naff, but you know they're only 20 minutes long, so you can kind of watch 4 or 5 of them in an hour.
Yeah. Now I'm not going to go too much more on about this film. Simply put, I love the story. Like I said, I love how the people get on in the film. It's not a drama. I actually adore. There's some charm about the effects. Like I mentioned earlier, the effects, the zombie makeup
basic.
isn't great. It's very basic, but there's a charm about it, and I love it. And it's a violent film towards the end. It's a gory film for the time, especially.
Oh, it's actually a long film. It's 2 hours long.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
It can be a slow burn, and again, it's not that scary. And I think for a modern audience nowadays, if you just showed someone, do you want to watch a horror film? Yeah, watch this 1978 Dawn of the Dead. I think people would be bored. I think people would be bored. I think that's why the remake is a better one to show people, because it's more high action, it's more octane, it's more tense. Especially the first 10 minutes of the remake is actually fantastic. It's a fantastic opening to an apocalyptic world.
I think we could effectively, going off what you just said there, is if you were to say, so I'll use my missus kid as an example. When so when she gets to be 18, which is in a 8 years time, something like that. If I was to say to her, I mean, 8 years time would be 2030, say, oh, I'm going to show you this, this iconic horror film, Dawn of the Dead from 1978. You have to watch it. I put it on for her. I can guarantee you she'd be sitting there going, I don't get it. What's so scary about this?
Yeah, it will be very dated.
Exactly. And I think going back to Scream 5, they touched upon this very cleverly, which is obviously Scream 5 mirrors Scream. I mean, let's be honest, you're watching Scream again. Almost, well, effectively, it is almost shot for shot. But what they did in the opening scene was really clever, which I loved, was in Scream 1996, Casey, no, not Casey. Yeah, Casey. Well, one of her names. She is on the phone to him, and she has to rely on her memory of horror films. She's racking her brains to try and work out what it was, because there was no mobile phones back in those days, and the internet was infancy settings. Whereas in Scream, and this is going off what you said about updating older horror films.
Yeah.
In the opening of Scream 5, he says, I'm going to give you horror trivia. Which one of these came first? She's literally like, okay, phone in. Oh, it was this one. And I was like, that's spot on what someone today would do. Is if they didn't know the answer, they'd be like, oh my God, this guy's going to kill me if I don't get this answer right. It's all right. I've got Google. It's that. And that's what I really liked about Scream 5 was they updated it. I know we're not going off on tangents in this episode. It's fine.
No, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen
But
easily.
I mean, what I'm going to end on, I want to end on 2 more interesting tidbits about Dawn of the Dead.
Please do.
Like we said, we're not going to review the film. We're not going to go shot by shot, plot, every plot synopsis and whatnot for each film. That's why I tried to sum the synopsis up. I probably did it very terribly, but it's I think I summed it up eventually.
Yeah.
But although Romero, this is what I found really interesting. George Romero, he took a lot of the work on himself. There's also an international co-production effort between the US and Italy with Dario Argento, director of Suspiria. Amazing Italian director. And Italian horror, if you've never been into Italian horror, get into Italian horror, because Italian horror is fantastic. Now, here comes the confusing part with the quote-unquote dead timeline. Argento re-edited Dawn of the Dead for European release, which was titled Zombie, with no E at the end.
Oh,
so
right.
Zombi, okay? Mm-hmm. Following its success, Zombie 2, also known as Zombie with an E, and also known as Zombie Flesh Eaters, was already in production by Lucio Fulci. Probably the equivalent of Argento in Italy, the 2 top Italian horror filmmakers. Zombie 2 would be unofficially known as a sequel to Dawn of the Dead, but not surpassing the true sequel being Day of the Dead. Now, like I said about the sequels, they don't technically follow on, but they're in the same universe. Like night, dawn, and day. They are in the same apocalyptic world. They just happen in different points. They don't continuously carry on.
Oh, okay.
But Zombie 2, aka Zombie Flesh Eaters, is their, I guess, spiritual true sequel. In a way.
Okay.
Like, I guess, like how we went through all those Texas Chainsaw Massacres iterations,
Whereas
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 really is the true sequel.
Oh, yeah.
You had all these other attempts. Now, Zombie 2 is, shall we say, Europe's sequel to Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's quite a mess. And the thing with Zombie 2, aka Zombie Flesh Eaters, it's a good zombie film. It's a slow burn at first, but the type of zombies in it are very much more voodoo-esque. So voodoo-esque wise, voodoo zombies are in theory the OG zombies.
Oh yeah, very much so.
From
even in real life,
the original zombie film, I can't remember what it's called. I think The Day I Stood with a Zombie.
I haven't heard that one.
I believe it's the first zombie film, and it's voodoo based, because that's where the origins really come from for Reanimated Dead. It's all like voodoo curses and whatnot. So that's So it's weird how they describe that as being their quote unquote true sequel, but yet they really are more voodoo zombies.
That is cool. I like that.
The last point I want to end on, which I love this. This is one of my favorite horror facts. Now, you notice we've been talking about Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. Now, what's difference in those titles?
Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead.
There's something different rather than the first word.
I was going to say, is it living?
It's the living.
Yeah.
Now, his original film had living, but it then got cut from each film onwards. Now, the legal rights to Living Dead were retained with Night of the Living Dead writer John Russo, which later on in his writing career would bring the term to cult classic Return of the Living Dead.
Okay.
Now, where was I? Russo had directed Dan O'Bannon, who you should know that name.
I should do, yeah.
Do you know that name?
Nope. It's bad. I should know this.
Why don't you look up Dan O'Bannon?
Oh no, I'm gonna. You're gonna hear me go. Oh crap! How did I know that? Dan O'Bannon.
Bannon.
Oh,
Bannon.
Bugger. He's from. Wait, no, there's two. Hang on. Why should I? Oh, he wrote the screenplay for Alien.
He did, yeah.
He also contributed computer animation to Star Wars.
He's big time. Okay, so Russo, the writer who had the legal rights to Living Dead, teamed up with Dan O'Bannon to helm Return of the Living Dead, with condition that the script could be discarded and completely rewritten, so that the rules, quote unquote rules, could be changed and steer the film in a direction away from the Romero franchise.
Oh, interesting.
Hence why we got in Return of the Living Dead franchise, we got more mobile zombies that are going brains and whatnot.
Oh, nice.
So at that point from Dawn, it was just of the dead, not Living Dead.
Ah, didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I do have a Dawn of the Dead tidbit for people.
Go on then. Let's end it with this. No, go for it.
Let's end it with this. There is another film that was not made by Romero. It was influenced by Romero. That actually technically takes place within the same universe. Do you know which film it is?
Is it a zombie film?
It is. It's a zombie film
in the same universe as Dawn of the Dead.
So it takes place within Romero's zombie universe. So it's kind of it was filmed a long time after these ones, but it's set. The person who made it said, "Oh, it's very much set in that universe."
I can't think off the top of my head. What go on?
You should know this.
I should know it.
You don't know what it is?
Give me a clue. Give me a clue.
It's British.
British.
Yeah, it's a British film.
Snatch.
No, it's a zombie film. It's a British zombie film.
A British. What? 28 days later?
Nope.
No.
It came out literally the same year as 28 Days Later.
How am I? You're saying I should know this. It's a British zombie film. I'm fairly certain I'm British. Unfortunately.
Do you want me to give you a?
Give me another clue. Give me a quote. Give me a quote. Give me a quote.
A quote from the line is, and then after that, we'll all go down the pub, have a pint, and wait for it all to blow over.
It is
Yep.
the Cornetto trilogy, but Shaun of the Dead. Yes, that is.
Simon
right.
Pegg, when he made this, because he's a huge Romero fan,
As
made
Edgar
Shaun of the
Wright.
Dead as a homage to
Yeah.
his films, and actually said, if I think it happens in Pittsburgh for the Dawn of the Dead stuff,
I believe it's Pittsburgh. Yeah, the Montevideo.
Pittsburgh.
Montevideo Mall.
He basically said, "Oh yeah, this is happening in Pittsburgh, whereas Shaun of the Dead happened there. Their apocalypse starts in the UK somewhere, but it's very much set within the same universe. That's where they said it. They based it. So there you go.
I remember that. I can't believe I mind blanked on Shaun of the Dead. Wow, it's annoying because I see Shaun of the Dead as more as a comedy than a zombie film.
Yeah, I didn't want to say zombie comedy because I know if I said zombie comedy, you'd be like, "Oh, it's that." I wanted to see if you could work it out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the connection I did have going back to Rec. Now you mentioned 28 Days Later. Obviously this is out spoiling too much. Is the type of thing that happens in the film? They're very similar to one of the potential reasons for the quarantine is similar to 28 Days Later. If you think about the opening scene of that with the monkey.
Yes, and they based Rec on the dog.
Yeah.
Going to the vet having like a.
So when I
rabies.
saw that bit, I was like, oh, that's similar to which, to be fair, Rec came out at the same time almost as 28 Days Later.
Rec was 2007 or 8. We talked about it last time, but Rec and Martyrs were 2007 or 8 respectively.
I think 6 years earlier.
Yeah, 28 Days Later was a bit earlier.
2002. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's getting close.
Getting close. I like that though. That like just blame it on the animal.
Oh yeah.
Just blame it on the animal.
Stuff is happening. What do we blame it on? I like to film Cujo. Let's get that in somehow.
Which
Cujo's
technically,
now on Netflix, though. There you go.
Cujo is fantastic. Go watch Cujo, people. Which actually, technically, when you blame it on the animal, you go back to Dead Alive. That is on the rat monkey.
Oh, poor Cujo.
Yeah.
I did you remember Caesar Milan, the dog whisperer?
Yeah, the dog whisperer.
He had a case, and I must admit, I laughed when I heard this. This guy was like, "Oh, I got this dog. It's horrible. It's mean. It's aggressive. It's violent. All the other." And he went to me. He was like, "Now tell me, what's the dog's name?" And the guy went, "I called him Cujo after my favorite Stephen King novel." And he looked at him and went, "The first thing we got to do is we got to change that name.
Yeah, we have.
Don't want to turn it out in public." And like Cujo, people are like, "Oh my god, you called your dog Cujo? Are you mad?"
Could be worse. You call it Adolf.
Yeah, you could call it Adolf. No,
Adolf.
that'd be pretty bad. Adolf.
Adolf, come here, boy.
Oh,
Come on.
oh god.
Who's a good Adolf?
Oh jeez. I'm going to be honest, I don't have much to say about this film because, quite frankly, it is probably hands down one of the worst films. Well, one of the worst remakes. No, not remake. One of the worst Western adaptations of a film that there probably has ever been. Quite frankly, and
Now we've talked about our top fives with each other many times and attempted to record them many times.
Yeah, we have so often.
I actually can't remember what you're about to say now.
You won't because it wasn't in here the first time around.
I see. Okay, all right.
Because was it in here for the first time around? It might have been. I'm not sure. Friday the 13th isn't because I took it out.
Yes. Yeah.
Because as like I said, as great as I love that series,
Yeah.
it didn't do anything for me. Like didn't chill me to my bones or anything. This film did at the time, up to about 6 years ago.
Very specific.
It was 6 years ago because the girl I was with at the time, had enough of me saying I was terrified of this film, so she sat me down and made me watch it. After which I was like, "Oh yeah, my god, this film is crap."
Okay.
So, basically, do you want me to just tell you what it is, or do you want me to give you clues about it? I feel like you're in a guessing mood today.
I am in a guessing mood. I'm enjoying it.
Okay, you are in a guessing mood.
Go for it.
I'll give you the clue. It's the sound clip that creeps everyone out. Yeah. Do you want me to give you
the sound clip?
Yeah. It's a sound clip that emanates from the main villain in the film. One of the two main villains.
Oh boy, the two main villains. Oh my
there's
god.
two.
The sound clip that emanates from one of the main two villains.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh wow, that's.
I didn't think that would be. I thought I would have given it away straight away, but I guess not.
Well, when you say sound clip, I before you said two villains, I instantly thought of Psycho. The ding, ding, ding,
interesting.
Ding, bing,
No.
bing, bing. Or like Halloween of that's what I'm thinking. Sound. You're talking what the character does. The character.
Yes, what the character does. Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting. I can see
modern, or are we talking 70s, 80s? Oh no, you said remake. You said remake, right?
Yeah. So it's early 2000s, very early 2000s.
Early 2002. I'm stumped. I'm absolutely stumped right now.
You're
this
stumped,
doesn't bode well for someone who does a horror podcast.
No. So, very early 2000s, it featured an actress who was at the top of her heyday in that time. She's still very successful now.
I know.
Oh.
I know. I know.
Which one do you think it is?
Are you about... Was the original a Japanese horror film?
Yes.
Right.
I think he's got it.
Is the sound similar to...
yeah, there we go. Yeah, kind of like you're doing a long fart.
And meow.
Meow. I forgot there's a cat there.
Ah!
Oh, I forgot about the cat. Oh,
so before I say the name
cat.
of the film, do you still check under your covers every night before you go to bed?
No, not anymore. I used to, though, up to about 6 years ago, every time I watched this film. But yeah, so we'll get straight into it. So the film...
the remake?
Yeah, the remake. Well, I never saw the original Japanese one before I'd seen... Okay. The film in question, before I get into it, is The Grudge. The 2004 The Grudge film, with starring the actress at the time, Sarah Michelle Gellar, who was... I think she had just finished her Buffy.
I think it was close, at least
very
close. Yeah.
But yeah, so Sarah Michelle Gellar was at the heyday of it. She was probably every teenage lad's
I had a poster.
dreams. Yeah, I did too. She was Buffy. She still is Buffy.
Yeah.
She was amazing. And she was hired to do this American remake of, I don't know when the original Grudge came out. It was
late
sometime
90s,
around...
I
Oh,
believe.
Jew on the Grudge. It was, late 90s. And they completely messed it up. It's a terrible film. It's awful. But
good thing it's in your top 5.
well, it is. It's in there for a special reason.
Okay.
And it's in there because this was my first introduction to... got a bit of Dorito stuck in my throat, so it's good.
No.
To, I would say, paranormal horror.
Right.
I would say this is kind of paranormal, supernatural horror.
Yes, I agree.
Earlier on, I kept wanting to say it was not psychiatric. What's the word? Psychological, but it's not really psychological. It's more paranormal. And this was my first introduction to it. And when I saw this, I was 14 when I saw this.
Yep.
And I saw it with my older brother and my dad. I think we'd rented it from Blockbuster because I think Blockbuster was still a thing at that time.
Yeah,
long live.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Blockbuster. We miss you.
We do. I actually do.
I do. And it creeped me out. It creeped me out so much. What creeped me out was the noise the kid made. That weird noise you just did a minute ago. I think, Fun fact, I don't think Ed the Penguin likes that noise. I don't know how I know this. I think I played it on his one of his Twitch streams and he hated it.
Sorry.
Like a deep fat fryer in your voice. You had the kid himself looked weird. He did look weird. The mother was creepy. The kid kept appearing everywhere, which terrified me. There was the weird, hair monster. I want to say hair monster. I don't know what she was. Oh, I even seeing pictures of it now. It's putting me off. And this is the thing. When I saw it at this time, when I was 14, it just terrified me. I don't know why. Because I watched it when I was 24, and I realized how bad of a film it is. It's not scary in the slightest. That's the thing. But when you watch it when you're 14 years old, and this is probably a few years after I'd seen Alien
Yep.
and The Terminator for the first time, every time I got into my bed, I had to look under my bed. I had to look in my cupboards. I had to look under my duvet because that friggin' kid
Now,
would
why
crawl.
is that?
Why? I don't know. What I
Now,
do.
why?
think
No,
I know
why
the
did you have to
reason
check in your covers? Why? There's a reason. Why
Why?
did you have to?
The reason why is because of that bloody scene in this film
Yeah.
where Sarah Michelle Gellar's getting all nice and cozy in her bed. I think it's Sarah Michelle Gellar. I don't know who it was.
I
Someone's
think
getting
it's
cozy in
someone
their bed.
else. I think it's someone else.
Might be someone else.
Yeah, it's
I
another
think it's
character.
whoever was in the flat because this kid somehow. Basically, the plot of The Grudge is Sarah Michelle Gellar is a carer, is an American carer who goes to Japan for some reason to care for someone, and I don't think it's ever explained. And the house is cursed. The house is cursed by this. The previous owner who used to live there, who died horrifically, as did her son.
It holds a grudge.
And whoever the grudge exactly, and whoever comes into this house is effectively cursed.
Yep.
So no matter where you go, this thing can follow you. Which, if you look into Japanese like spirits and things like that, I mean, there's loads of them. Check out 13 Ghosts for a great film on this. There's so many of them, and she effectively becomes cursed by the grudge.
Yep.
And I don't think she believes it at first. There's a great little jump scare where she's sitting on a bus and this kid just like comes out of nowhere.
There
out
are
of the
some
reflection.
good
It's-
jump scares in it.
Oh,
There
there
are some
are.
brilliant scares. There's a good one in the attic.
Yes, where
The
he puts his
camera
hand down.
panning
Oh.
around in the attic.
Yep.
Yeah,
Which was
there's some
successfully
nice-
parodied in Scary Movie 2, where he burns the kid with a lighter.
Yes, there was.
Which is great fun. I like that.
Yeah, there was. Yep.
And basically, things go on. She starts to realize the house is cursed. She tries to escape it and doesn't because, the grudge is a vengeful spirit and will stop at nothing to get you.
Yep.
And there's a scene in this film where I believe it's her friend. She passes the curse on to her friend somehow, or she invites the friend to the house. She gets cursed, and she goes back to her flat. And this is after there's some weird stuff going on in the CCTV cameras. So, like, the monster is freaking the cameras out, and she gets into bed. And she's lying there with the duvet. And as the camera pans down to the bottom of the bed, you just see this shape just slowly creeping up the bed.
Yeah.
And she grips the top of the duvet, and you can see in the mind, the script is like, thinks about, should I lift the duvet up? And I sat there and I watched this going, no, just tuck yourself in.
Suffocate that bitch.
Dutch oven that
Dutch
bastard,
oven that bitch.
and just be done with it. And she lifts this thing up, and he's there, and he just goes, huh, and the scene ends. She dies horribly. And ever since I saw that scene, I would have to check under my duvet because I was paranoid that this thing was going to be there since I saw The Grudge. And it was somehow watching the DVD had cursed me and this Grudge kid was going to come and get me. And so I actually had nightmares about this film, and this is true, for 3 weeks after I saw this film. Constant nightmares of this kid. And it was horrible. I barely slept for about 3 weeks. It was nightmares.
I think
And-
the Grudge. Obviously, there's multiple villains and monsters. We'll
yes.
say. I think it's the girl that crawls through the bed,
I
but
have no idea.
I think it is the girl that crawls through the bed. But before we get to the bed
Probably is,
scene,
though.
the female character in question is working her way through the apartment building, gets to the door, and like lights start to flicker.
Yes.
Flicker.
I think
as
they
she-
work in
as
tandem,
she's
don't they?
as she's going up the elevator, you see. I think the elevator has a glass. The elevator has a glass window in it. You see as she's going through level to level to level. On certain levels, the little boy is standing there.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
appears. So you're right. They kind of work in tandem.
They
These
do a bit.
these dickhead ghosts. They kind of work together.
God, they're
And
so
it's-
annoying.
It's the young female ghost that really.
She's the main villain.
Yeah,
She's
she's
the
the
main
one
bad guy.
that is in the bed and pretty
She's
much
the hair monster.
kills this female character. Yeah.
Yeah, the mother is the main. I think it's the mother. The mother is the main villain. The boy is just an unfortunate bystander. And to be fair, the story about how they died is actually pretty.
Oh, it is.
Heartbreaking. It's a
Yeah.
horrible story. The dad basically snaps and kills them. Drowns them in the bathtub, which is where when she's got to reach into the bathtub, you're just sitting there going, there's something in there. Don't put your hand in there. Never put your hand in there. But the film in whole is just not good. It's not a good remake. They butchered it unfortunately, too much. But for me, it was just a terrifying film. And over the years, I was like, I'm going to watch this film. This film can't be scary. And I would start the film, I'd get a little bit into it, and I'd be like, nope, I got to stop it. I have to stop it.
Big nope.
And I could not watch it. I was just like, no, I cannot watch this film. And my older brother was like, you are such a wuss. It's not scary. And I went, it is to me. And I couldn't get over it. And it was the girl I dated about 6 years ago before I got with my partner. And I told her about this. We were looking for something to watch on a Saturday night. And I said, oh, she's like, oh, watch me film. She watched. She was like, oh, I know a really good scary movie called The Grudge. And she looked at me and she went, I'm sorry, do you find that scary? And I was like, yes, well, I do.
It's subjective. It's subjective. You know, certain horror films are scary to others. Certain art film horror films aren't.
And this is a 15, by the way, so it's not like an 18 rated horror. And I said, yes, it's terrifying. She went, no, we're going to sort this out. So she sat me down on the sofa, put the DVD in, and went, you're not allowed to look away. You're not allowed to hide behind a pillow. You have to watch this. And I was like, okay. And I was like, I'm 24 years old. I'm a man. I can get through this. Yeah. And when I watched it like that, to be fair, it probably helped that I had someone there with me. I was, as an adult, 10 years on from my 14-year-old brain, I was like, this film is awful. It's an awful film. And actually, when you really look at it, I mean, to be fair, people who are watching it now probably wouldn't find this scary unless they had a real phobia of ghosts. Because when you see the kid when he appears, you're like, that's literally a skinny kid who's been painted, who looks like Tom Savini's early work, just white paint all over him.
Yeah.
And after I watched that, I was like, this film isn't actually scary. It's not that terrifying. In fact, it's really not scary. There's some really good jump scares, though. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's one in the graveyard. There's the bus.
Yeah.
There are some good moments.
It
but
does
overall,
jump scare as well.
Yes. Overall, it's very mediocre. And the sequels they released after this are just, I don't know what happened with them.
There's a plethora of sequels.
And
another remake.
Yeah, which was awful. I remember watching it. It was terrible. Although, to be fair, Sadako versus Kayako is a brilliant piece of it's a brilliant piece of work.
That's an important piece of cinema history right there.
It is. It's fantastic. You should definitely check that bad boy out, especially the ending. But the reason it's on my top 5 is it's not scary. It's not a scary film. But as an intro to paranormal horror, and the way it gave me nightmares every time I watched it for 3 weeks, worse than the facehuggers. The facehuggers I could get over, as we talked about in the last episode.
Yeah.
I could get them pretty easily because I'm like, well, there's no aliens on Earth, so it's fine.
Yes.
But this thing, it was night after night, there was nightmares. I had to check everywhere. Every time I looked in the reflection, I thought it was going to be there. When I was brushing my teeth, I was like, is it going to be in the corner of my eye somewhere? And it would not leave my brain. And for that, I was like, I have to include this on my top 5 because it did. It just
had that impact.
It had such an impact on me.
Yeah.
That I was like, okay, as an intro to horror as a teenager, this is up there in the best thing that I ever experienced at that time. If I watch it now, I'm just like, you might. Do you want to gargle something to get rid of that chesty cough you got?
Did you get around to watching the original eventually?
No, I never watched it.
You really should. You really should watch the original.
Interesting though, I watched was it The Ring? I watched The Ring.
Ringu.
I've seen Ringu and I've seen The Ring.
Yeah.
And loads of people are like, The Ring, oh, it's terrifying. I watched it at my aunt's house not too long after I watched this, and it was so boring. I just could not. I just don't know what it was.
Is a very slow burn,
really
similar to Audition, which we mentioned before.
Oh yeah, Audition,
very slow burn, but peaks at the end. It really do. Now the thing with The Ring, I think the more terrifying aspect of that film is Sadako, obviously, but it's the video itself, the videotape itself.
Yeah.
Because the only way to describe that video is what?
Yeah.
What? And that's terrifying because it's out of the norm of what what we know. What are we watching? What the hell is this? Some people will go, this is rubbish. But if I was in the film, if I was there, I'd feel very eerie going, why does this exist? What is this? That to me is the scariest part of it.
And I think what The Ring had going for it was the word of mouth as well.
I agree.
Similar to like the Blair Witch effect,
yes.
Which was like, have you heard of this film? And people are like, oh yeah, have you heard the film that's going to kill you in 7 days? And like, no, you have to. It's like, well, goes, oh, you have to. It's called The Ring. You have to watch it.
Yeah.
And it spread like that. So people are like, well, apparently there's a film called The Ring that's going to kill you in 7 days.
Yeah.
And so it kind of like it got built up into this like truly terrifying film. I mean, to be fair, people may have found it terrifying. Personally, I didn't. There is a film out there that I really want to. I'm going to try and look it up because I think it'd be quite. It's a really weird film. And I think potentially it was an early adaptation of the Fatal Frame games, the Project Zero games.
Project Zero, yeah.
And it was like early 2000s, so it was the flip phone type of thing.
Yeah.
And it was a camera or a phone or something that was cursed.
Mm-hmm.
And if it took your photo, it would distort your face really badly, and it would leave you a message saying how you were going to die.
Okay.
But it wouldn't tell you where or when. It literally would just show your face as you were in that moment you died. And it was on YouTube. I mean, this is before YouTube like became YouTube.
Yeah.
And so I watched it, and I had a great time watching this. I don't know. I can't remember what it's called. It's bloody annoying. I have to watch it again.
Okay.
And I don't know where I'm going with this. I just thought this is quite a good tangent. The fact that we're talking about, it's because it's Japanese horror. That was it. And this was a really good intro of like modern Japanese horror that they were like, oh, everyone's got flip phones. Someone was like, a cursed flip phone, you say? All right, here you go. Horror film.
I like the fact you're saying, this isn't a great film, but it has that impact on you. And it might not be scary to other people, this film, but everyone has something in their life or in the world they are scared of, no matter what it is. It might not be a horror film. There are people that I've watched horror films with that I can't watch horror films with again because I like to feel immersed in a horror film. I watch a horror film in the dark, and if it's shit, it's shit. If it's good, and I feel immersed in it. And there's people that I've watched horror films like that with, and they'll laugh at points where you're not really meant to laugh. They go, or that scared me. It didn't scare you though.
You said I did watch Wreck in the Dark, so there you go.
Good.
I did, yeah.
I feel like you should get immersed into them.
See, I put down the reason why The Grudge terrified me so much is the fact that when I was born, I had brain damage when I was born.
Oh.
And I have a really overactive imagination. It's fantastic sometimes. So I think when I see things like this and they get stuck inside my mind, my imagination is just like, has an explosion. It's like, here you go, let's play on this for yonks. And I think that's what happened with The Grudge. That's what it did. It got stuck rattling around. And so, of course, naturally, your brain's like, it's like that annoying earworm music thing. You hear it. You're like, I know what it is, but I can't remember what the title is. It's annoying. It will annoy you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what some of these films do, especially my number 2 as well. Well, number 2, number 2 would be interesting.
It did its job for you. And like,
it did its job.
It's not the scariest film I've ever seen. There were some good jump scares that I was scared of, but it did its job for you, and that's what matters.
Oh, yeah. And that's what's on my list.
That's why it's our personal top 5. So we're now up to the silver medal place. We're up to our number 2s.
Yep.
Numero 2os. Numero dos.
Dos?
Deuce. And for me, it's Halloween. It's the original Halloween.
Nice.
Again, we're going back to 1978, where we just were with Dawn of the Dead. It is a golden year. It's a golden time for horror films, and it wouldn't be a generic top 5 horror movie countdown, I think, without Halloween. I think Halloween, well, maybe not for you. We're all different.
Yep.
But I think for the most part, Halloween would be in the majority of a major horror fan's top 5. I would have thought so, at least. Maybe not everyone, but for the majority. So, we had the 70s, the slasher scene slowly growing with the release of Black Christmas, The Driller Killer, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But the one that I think really set in stone being the slasher. Now, slasher's a term, but when you say slash to someone, and I don't mean going for a piss, when you say slash, you think of a knife, don't you? You think of a slash, like a slash with a knife.
I would think of some sort of bladed weapon. Yeah.
And to me, that goes with Halloween. It's the slasher film. And he hasn't killed that many people in the film. It's kind of similar to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He doesn't kill that many people.
It's a very low body count.
And especially with a blade either.
True.
And
although he's very creative with his blade, let's be honest.
He's very creative. Now, much like Dawn of the Dead, which I stated was an independent film, this is really independent. This is an incredibly independent film. This was only made for $350,000.
Oh, wow.
That wouldn't pay a few actors in a modern day film their salary. And Halloween did so much for the horror genre by doing so little in the space of just 90 minutes. Ranging from the impactful opening score, which I just inserted there for you audio listeners.
There you go.
Just a little pause there. To the altered, amazing Captain Kirk / Shatner mask.
Oh, yes.
Quick tangent, folks. If you don't know the original Michael Myers mask, it was originally a Captain Kirk / William Shatner mask from the original Star Trek, which they just dicked about with, edited, gave it a new paint job, boom, done. And sorry, Shatner, but you're terrifying, apparently, in mask form.
Yeah.
And I think the thing with the mask, which makes it more terrifying, is not being able to see Michael's eyes.
No, you can't, can you? Thinking about it.
It's an endless void. Because, which, we're getting deep here, Michael himself is an endless void. There's no reasoning with him. Much like Leatherface. No, in fact, there's probably more reasoning with Leatherface than there is Michael Myers. Michael Myers is a zombie himself. There is no reasoning whatsoever with him. And
Leatherface, has shown some especially in the new film, which we don't want to talk about again.
Well, we'll never talk about
some people can get through to him.
Yeah. And it goes along with that mask with the pure horror radiating from him, from the calm, slow walking, silent monster. That is Michael Myers. And you're listening to a horror podcast, okay? Do I need to talk about who Michael Myers... I don't need to talk about who Michael Myers is and whatnot. I don't really
I would say that you don't, because let's face it, if you were to go out into the world and say, name me a slasher, chances are you're going to hear one of a few names. You're either going to hear Michael, Jason, Freddy, Chucky, or, I don't know, Candyman. You're going to hear one of the big ones.
One of the shall we say, that's always in the top 10. The most common one. And Michael Myers, to me, is just... He's peak. He's peak.
Apex.
Leatherface to me is top, but Michael is an incredible character. Unfortunately, we get the sequelitis issue with the Halloween series, which I'll get onto in a minute. But we're talking about Halloween 1. So we got the opening score, the 4 beats, which you just heard from John Carpenter himself. that opening score alone, it's so weird to say that 4 beats can be scary.
Yeah.
It is a scary tune. And it's only 4 beats at the beginning, repetitive, but you get a bit more in the tune eventually. It starts to ramp up in the opening credits. But it's a scary piece of music. And it's so good. It's fantastic. It's so simple. You put that, like, A, the intro with B, Michael Myers, you have a pure horror combination.
Yep.
And the story is so utterly simple. So simple. As simple as when I described Slumber Party Massacre earlier. Again, you're listening to a horror podcast. You should know the story behind Halloween. Psychotic
By
guy.
now, everyone should know this.
Everybody should know. A psychotic man escapes from a mental asylum who has been watched over by a doctor for so many years. He's in a mental asylum because when he was 6, he killed his sister with a knife.
And the boyfriend? Boyfriend's off screen.
No.
Does he not?
No, I don't believe
he doesn't.
does. No, that's in
later
that's in the remake.
That's right, yeah.
So he's in the mental asylum, escapes, and is pretty much just he goes back to where he was from, Haddonfield, Illinois, or should I say Haddonfield, Los Angeles, because there's palm trees there.
Yeah.
There's no palm trees in Illinois. He goes back to doing what he knows best, is killing, being a monster.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, our main girl, our final girl, arguably one of our original final girls, which I'll get onto in a second, is caught in the crosshairs of Michael Myers. And that is basically that is the briefest synopsis of the film. Now, as I mentioned, our final girl in this, Laurie Strode, played by the amazing Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh yes,
it's widely believed this is to be the starting point of the final girl in horror, being Laurie. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you could argue that Sally Hardesty in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 1974 is the original final girl, along with, I forget her name, I should have noted down, the lead character, who's female, in Black Christmas, who survives. Now, as we established, Black Christmas came out at the same time as Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The reason why I would say Laurie is actually the proper final girl is because the difference between the two, Laurie was actually able to get some credible defense in with Michael.
Yeah, that's true, actually. She did, didn't she?
And I personally find that gives more credit to a final girl than, say, Sally, who, God bless her, it was doing all she could to survive from this monster chasing her throughout the night and disposing of her friends. Okay?
That's
Laurie really did all she could to fight back, especially after looking after 2 kids, babysitting 2 kids that night.
Yeah, that's right. She did, didn't she? She was looking after Tommy, wasn't she?
Tommy Doyle. Yeah.
Tommy Doyle. It was Tommy Doyle.
Now, the final girl is, it's we all know that trope in horror films. So it refers to the last girl, woman alive, to confront the killer, the one left to tell the story. The final girl, I mean, it's in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's in Halloween, it's in Alien, as we talked about.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, obviously. Nightmare on Elm Street with Nancy. Scream with Sydney. Like, it's a big trope.
Although,
go on.
Pausing quickly for Friday the 13th.
Go.
Friday the 13th doesn't actually technically have an iconic final girl.
No, they're
different. Yeah. The other films do. Friday the 13th, the only one that doesn't actually have one.
Tommy Jarvis, played by Corey Feldman. I love Tommy in the Friday series. Tommy's played by 3 different actors: Corey Feldman, another actor who is in Return of the Living Dead, and a third actor who name escapes me. But Tommy is probably more frequent in Friday the 13th as a final character than a final girl itself.
Yeah.
But the final girl, it's an established trope in the horror genre, and I think Laurie was the first main one. In what, like I said, was an independent film, not a Hollywood blockbuster. It made its money back. This film made its money back in big time. Excuse me. So much like the majority of major horror films in the 70s and 80s, Halloween was not able to escape the lure of the spawning sequels and reboots.
No, unfortunately not.
Which doesn't hinder this being in my top 5, though. I just try and block them out because this film is just incredible. This film is horror itself. There's a lot of different words: horror, terror, chilling.
Yeah.
This film is chilling, I think, more than disturbing. It's not a disturbing film.
No,
it's chilling and can be terrifying.
It's interesting because I think Halloween is also one of the first films that kind of did away with the slasher that always attacks at night.
Yes.
If you think about it, Jason always attacks at night. Freddy was always in your dreams at night.
Yeah.
Whereas the very first time we see Michael stalking Laurie, it's broad daylight, like first thing in the morning, and he's just casually standing there looking at her, and she turns around, she just sees him, and it's like, this is like first thing in the morning. It's like, what on earth are you doing at this time? Whereas most slashers are, it's like, I need the cover of darkness to do my kills. Yeah. Even Child's Play, the first time we meet Chucky, it's at night.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, Halloween, we're like, nah, we're going to film during the day. I mean,
well, it's filmed during the day, but most of the kills, Annie's killed at night. In fact, they are killed at night, the kids.
The build up, killed at night.
The build up is during the day in quote unquote LA, which is actually Illinois. Because there's no palm trees in Illinois, for God's sake, John Carpenter. Get that right. Yeah, it's I think again with Dawn of the Dead, I think showing this to a modern audience would be quite tough. I think it would feel a slow burn. I don't think it would be scary because I don't feel the slow, methodical walking Michael Myers is as creepy to a modern audience. They want things now. They want the jump scares.
Yeah.
Whereas I personally don't like that. I like the chilling, methodical, slow walking Michael, because you're thinking, what is he thinking? Why is he walking so slow? Shouldn't he be chasing me? Shouldn't he be running after me? Well, I'm going to start to panic. Why is he just slowly... What does he know I don't know?
And it's the fact that he always catches up to you. Even though he's only walking, he always catches up to you. I love Donald Pleasance in this film as Dr. Loomis. He was great, wasn't he?
He's the crazy old psychiatrist doctor who has been looking after Michael, watching and learning about Michael all this time. He knows everything about Michael.
Yep.
And his performance is it's Donald Pleasance. He's an amazing actor.
He is. I mean, it was great to see him in Halloween Kills. It was lovely to see. Well, he wasn't in Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
But it was great to see that they managed to bring that character back, even though it was only for like a second or two.
Yeah.
It was great to see them bring him back again. Although, to be fair, for a doctor who's, dealing with psychotic. That's the word. My mouth is just not working today. Psychotic patients. He was remarkably good with a gun. It's got to be said.
Yeah.
He had a remarkably good aim, even though obviously, well, I mean, if you haven't seen Halloween, go see Halloween. Even though obviously his attempts to finally stop Michael failed, but he had that great line, which was when he's talking about Michael, and I think you said it a bit earlier. There's nothing to him. He just turns around and says, Michael is pure evil. There's nothing in that brain. He's just an evil soul. And it's like, what do we do with him? It's like
evil.
Pure evil. He goes, what do we do with Michael? There's only one thing you can do. If you see him, just kill him. That's it.
Because he can't be stopped.
He can't be stopped. He will keep going until he gets his target. Obviously, we're not going to go into Halloween Kills because it's a train wreck. And we hate it. Not as much as we hate Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
But and that was great. All the other slashers, they obviously, I mean, to be fair, with the other slashers, it's kind of easy to avoid them. I think we've touched on this with especially Jason. Jason is really easy to defeat. You just stay out of his camp.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You stay out of his camp. It's fine. Candyman, you don't say his name. It's kind of like the Bloody Mary thing. You don't say his name, he can't hurt you. He leaves you alone. Freddy, so long as you don't live on Elm Street, you're fine.
Yeah.
Michael is the only tricky one. Because, well, actually, to be fair, if you stay out of Haddonfield, you're kind of be okay as well, I suppose.
Yeah, Michael didn't have a purpose until part 2, which really bothered me when they shoehorned in that Laurie was his sister.
That was done because if I remember right, that they couldn't they couldn't work out how to do the plot.
Yeah,
It was
they struggled.
Yeah, it's like we're just doing the same film. What do we do? I don't know. Oh, do this. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Which then started the obsession that Laurie was his sister, even though it doesn't make any sense. But
so, I mean, we can quickly go through the timeline just to get out of the way, like I did with the Texas Chainsaw one. So number 2, obviously,
this is going to get
straight.
confusing.
No, it's fine. It's not as confusing as TCM.
Yeah.
Carries on straight after number 1, straight after. So Laurie's
Yep.
taken to the hospital, and it's pretty much set in the hospital. Texas Chainsaw. Halloween 3 is its own film. Halloween 3 is fantastic. You can watch that. You don't need to watch the
Season
others.
of the Witch.
It's just a great film. It's got nothing to do with Michael Myers. Go watch
Nope.
it. Halloween 4, better than Halloween 2. Carries it basically retcons Halloween
The retcon
2.
part 2?
Halloween's retcons 2. Yes, it retcons 2. But it's based on Michael's niece.
Oh,
No,
yes.
sorry, it doesn't retcon 2.
No, that's not
but
Halloween.
No, it doesn't retcon 2. It doesn't retcon 2. It based on Michael's niece being Laurie's daughter, which is Jamie, played by Danielle Harris, and that continues in 5 as well. So 4 and 5 are continuous, and they carry on after 1 and 2. Jamie's an amazing character, and again, for some reason, he is hunting down his family. It's alluded to in the film, but it's like again, you had to shoehorn in the family aspect rather than him being an endless void, looking in the eyes, a pure monster just out to kill. You know, he's a psychopath, or what we call nowadays a sociopath. Halloween 6, and we are with a grown up Tommy Doyle, played by Paul Rudd. It's a rough film.
Oh, yeah.
It's a rough film, and we then get into cult territory here with Michael being in a cult.
The Thorn.
The Thorn cult. It's a bad film, but if you can watch it and try and find the director's cut, which is a hard one to find.
Oh, yeah.
Halloween H2O retcons everything we've just talked about, and is a pure sequel to Halloween 1 with Laurie Strode 20 years later with her son working in the school, and Michael finds them. There we go. Hell ensues in the school. We have to come back to that. It's 20 years later and he's back. No. Halloween Resurrection. We carry on with H2O. Big Brother was big at the time. So we're going to do Big Brother in Michael's old house.
Oh, they didn't, did they?
Big Brother in Michael's old house. Or a documentary style thing in Michael's old house. He's not going to like that. Fair enough. He's coming. Blah, 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 whatever. We then have the Rob Zombie remakes, which they're Rob Zombie films. And now we have the new retcons. Here we go again. Which are the new sequels to Halloween 1, which was Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, which is trash. So that's about I'm going to draw up, actually. If you follow us on Twitter at Tom Grindhouse or at Tainted Souls, I'll give you this to share. I'll draw up another timeline for Halloween this time.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So people can see what the actual timeline is. But all the way back, we're going back to Halloween 1. There is no what's the word? There's no MO for Michael, really.
No.
If there is, it's just to go back to Haddonfield. But at the same time, dude's a psychopath. Dude will do whatever he wants. He will just do it.
I mean, yeah, because I think that's what made Michael really good, was there was no MO. It was just he was a great representation of the fact that there is just evil in the world.
Exactly.
And he represented that. He is just evil. He's just going to do evil things. That is just the way he is. He's nothing about him.
Evil does.
Whereas
evil
obviously
does.
other slashers have their reasons for doing so.
Yeah.
Until you get to Halloween Kills, and they punched in a really stupid line, which
Evil
I
dies
think when the
tonight.
both of us heard this, we were like, I hope that's not what they're doing in the Thars film. If it is, it's going to be a crap film. Because someone sat there and went, oh, what if Michael's not actually staring out the window? What if he's just staring at himself and that's what he wants to do? And as soon as I think both of us heard that, we were like, do not have some dumbass ending to this new trilogy where they're like, oh, we've stopped Michael. We just put him in front of a mirror. He's just going to stand there for the rest of the time. It's like, if that's what you do, I'm going to scream. Because you would have taken one of the most beloved slashers in horror history and given him the dumbest ending in the world. I'm really worried that's what's going to happen.
Now there are throughout the sequels and reboots and all that, there are some times where Michael is portrayed to have his human side comes out just for a slight part, where he's chasing Jamie down at one point. Jamie's cornered, and she pulls the mask off Michael.
Oh yeah,
and you see a slight tear come from Michael, and then he loses it back in reverse, mask back on, starts tearing shit up. I don't want that. Halloween 1, Michael, like we've just said, is a monster.
Yep.
Non-reasoning, he's a monster.
That's all he is.
And it's the chilling, calm, methodical mindset of Michael that is, to me, it's just perfect. It's just a perfect slasher villain in a horror film. It's perfectly done. And it is a slow burn, Halloween 1.
Oh,
but
it really is.
It's a slow burn sprinkled in with, I don't know, here's a scene with Michael, just Michael's legs walking, or Laurie and her friends walking down the street. And is that Michael just in the bushes?
Yeah.
And they're like, who is that?
Nah.
And then he just walks behind the bush and he's gone. It's so subtle, but it works. And John Carpenter absolutely killed it with Halloween.
He did. I mean, this is almost, you could say this is his opus, because this is the film that everyone associates with him. It's like, if you say John Carpenter, it's like, it's John Carpenter's Halloween.
I think you think of this or The Thing.
Oh, The Thing was good. Oh, I like that film.
I think it's The Thing or Halloween. You think of John Carpenter. You don't think of Ghost of Mars.
No, I had a really interesting theory, actually, about the ending to The Thing. Now, if you haven't seen The Thing, go watch it. It's a great film. It's really cool. Lots of fantastic special effects, which I love in my horror films. But it's right at the end. So you've got, I think it's MacReady. I think he's the last one.
Yeah.
MacReady and whoever the other guy is.
Played by Keith David.
There's a scene where it's right at the end, and they're like, shit, we don't know where the alien is. It could be either one of us. And MacReady hands a bottle of whiskey to the guy and says, here you go, let's just drink up. And that's where the film ends. I didn't hear this, but someone came up with an interesting theory, if they ever did, which was that the bottle that MacReady hands over, it contains oil or like something horrific to drink. And so he hands it to the other guy and says, drink up. Because if he drinks it and says, oh, thanks, it's like, you've just drank pure oil.
Yeah.
And if he was human, he'd say, that's disgusting. But if he said nothing, it's like, that's the alien. And I was like, that's a really interesting theory. But obviously they then made the prequel to The Thing, and again, they ruined it.
I always believe Kurt Russell's character was the thing at the end.
Yeah, potentially.
But I love the ambiguity
It's
of
one
it,
of them.
the openness. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not being handheld all the way. I love that.
I love The Thing. I thought it was great. Oh,
So yeah,
such a good film.
number two.
There you go.
What more can you say? Halloween is a perfect horror film. It really is a perfect horror film. The score, the score, the
characters,
the acting, the script.
The fact that William Shatner's been terrifying people for 50 odd years.
It is not a gory film. It has the thought of what people think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a gory killing slasher film. It's not.
No.
It's
very simple.
I'm trying to think of how much blood and gore is in this film. The most blood is probably when he kills his sister at the beginning.
Yes, probably. That is probably about it.
Yeah, and that's so great. It leaves it to your imagination. There's everything about it. It's a perfect horror film, and that's why it's my number 2.
Very nice. That leads us into my number 2. The silver tier of my top 5 to-do lists. To-do list? Not to-do list. Top 5 horror lists. Don't know I said to-do list. And this was an iconic film that came out 3 years earlier than Halloween. And it's an interesting film. It is a horror film, but it was unique at the time because the main villain of this film wasn't actually a human or a monster or anything like that.
Yep.
It was an animal. Are they animals? Are they fish? I'm not sure if it's an animal or a fish. Either way, it was a shark. And of course, the title of the film is, of course, Steven Spielberg's 1975 film, Jaws.
Yep.
And this film is just, if you look at it and look at everything that went into making this film, the cast in this film, yeah.
Sorry, I'm putting my hand up for a question. No, but that's not even a question. I've just checked. Sharks are not mammals; they are fish and animals.
They're fish. There we go.
Shows how much we don't know.
No, that's true. I do have some interesting shark. I do have some interesting shark trivia for you, but I'll get onto that a little bit later. And yes, if you look at everything that went into making this film should not have been made.
Yep.
It somehow managed to keep going, but there were so many problems with this film. All right, general overview of this film is there is a small little kind of like seasidey town called, I think it's Amity Island off Long Island, somewhere in the States. I'm not sure where that is. And it's a town that relies on tourism. You know, they have this nice beach, they have these lovely waters.
Yep.
So every summer they rely on these tourists coming in and bring them money. And what basically happens is one summer is a great white shark comes in unnoticed. And it basically eats a child, which actually, again, going off, I think, what you said about Dawn of the Dead, which only came out a few years before, actually, the year before this, didn't it? Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead is 78.
The 78.
Yeah.
And again, this was kind of one of the earlier things where they were like, yeah, we're going to kill a child in this, and we're going to make it as quite as bloody as we can. I think it was a child first. It might have been a lady. One of the two. Either way, it's a great scene where blood gets splattered and everything. It's lovely. Fantastic. And pretty much they're like, okay, so someone has died in the water, and they try to work it out. And they realize it's a shark. And like, oh, okay, we've got a shark problem. Let's see if we can fix this. Suffice to say, they don't find the shark. And the mayor's like, well, we have to get people in the water, because if we don't, there's no money. The town's screwed. We're all, it's all going to fall apart. And they send everyone back into the water, and lo and behold, another person gets eaten by a shark. It's at this point in time they bring in an expert who's like, haha, you have a great white problem. Yes, you are indeed in trouble. And off the story goes. Now, this film was great because it was probably unique at the time, because the villain, like I just said, wasn't a person.
Yeah.
It wasn't someone in a mask that was hunting down teenagers who felt like coming into his camp, or it was a nightmare.
I love it if the shark had a mask.
Undead person. That would be cool. I would love that. I think it'd be great.
It wears
it wears
the skin of its victims as a mask.
Although the plot of Jaws 2 is Mummy comes looking, because Mummy senses her child is dead, even though that would never happen. We won't get into Jaws 3 and 4 because they were just horrendous films that you could probably more view as a comedy than anything. And it was great because the villain was a shark, and I'd never seen it at that point in time, and I love this film to bits. I absolutely love it. So much that when I had COVID, I was like, I want to watch Jaws. I want to watch this film again. And I rented it on Amazon Prime. I rented it on Amazon Prime. I was like, I'm going to watch this film again. And then promptly realized when I opened up my Netflix that it was on Netflix for free. So, there was that. But, I was like, it supports the cause. It supports the Jaws franchise. It's fine. And I'd never seen anything about it up to this point. And what Steven Spielberg managed to do with this film was he manages to build tension without showing you the shark. The shark is barely in this film at all.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because the animatronic that they built for this, I think they called it Bruce the shark, never worked. It broke down so often because when they submerged it in the water, it kept messing with its animatronic, like wiring stuff. So I think for half of the film, he couldn't use it. And it was like, I have a machine that's cost me a lot of money, and I can't use it. And so they were like, we have to just film this from the shark's point of view, or like some really clever tricks of the camera to make it work. And he did. He really makes it work. that coupled with the incredibly iconic soundtrack. We like talking about music in this, which is simply the duh. Actually, no, we'll put a clip in here.
I'll put it in. Yeah.
There you go. As you've just heard it now, it's a great thing. I love that soundtrack. Might have to have it as my phone ringtone.
It's simple. It's so simple, and it's the simple ones that stick with you. You'll never forget them.
No, exactly. I think that's what's great about I think that's the perfect mix-up. When you get the great, iconic soundtrack and you make a unique slasher, you just know the two of them. It's like when you hear the do-do-do-do-do-do, you're like, exactly. That's Michael Myers. The ma, you know that's Jason.
Yep.
And the one from Jaws, you know it's the shark. And it's hard to describe why this, again, it's not hard to describe why this film means so much to me. It's easy to describe this film to me because, again, it made me terrified. It made me scared to go into things like the ocean. Because even if I went on a holiday, what was it? Quite a few years ago now.
Yeah.
And I went to the ocean, and there were no sharks in this area. They're just non-existent. But I was in there, and I was like, oh, is there a great white under here? Is there a shark? Because of the film Jaws, I was like, no, there's going to be a shark. I've seen Jaws. I know there's sharks roaming around everywhere. There's got to be a shark. And that's what I loved about this film, was it had that impact on me, where even in swimming pools, I would believe that there was a shark in the swimming pool. Now, let's be honest, in Jaws 4 or 3, something, one of those two, he gets into SeaWorld somehow. I don't know how, considering the fact the shark in that film is ginormous. And it's like, oh my God, this shark is somehow swimming around SeaWorld and we're not realizing where he is.
The animals are in cahoots with each other.
Oh God, it's such a bad film.
Yeah.
But I believe that there was a shark everywhere. No matter where I went, even if it was a swimming pool and I dived in, I thought I was going to be diving straight into the mouth of the shark. And that's what this film did to me. And I loved it, that it was making me terrified of swimming pools.
Well, I've noticed, I love that our top fives are so different from each other.
Oh, they really are.
I love it. And that leads to better discussions than us having the same top fives. But what I've noticed with your top five, some of them, especially The Grudge and Jaws, they've really had an effect on your mind and made you really, like you say, the thing with the Grudge and the duvet and in the bed.
Yep.
It really gives a really big impression on you, especially with the shark when you were younger, thinking they're in. And that means
that was even last weekend. I went swimming last weekend. Even when I got in, I was like, ugh.
It means the films have done such a good job on you as an audience.
Oh, they do.
That's a great thing.
Yeah. What is interesting is I said about if you look at everything that went into this film, it should never have been made.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't. So the animatronic, like I said, it constantly broke down to the point where I think even Steven Spielberg was like, I've had enough. It's like, this film is, to be fair, this film was they believed it was going to tank because they were like, you know what, we've blown our money on this thing that doesn't work. No one's going to watch it. It's a rubbish film. We'll put it in the time slot where films go to die, which now, ironically, in 1970s, it was right at the start of summer. So I think it was the first week of the summer holidays. Films they were like, you know what? A crap film. We know it's crap. Put it right there. Just get back a bit of money if you can.
Wasn't it the original summer blockbuster?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
It was the very first film that
Yeah.
became a summer blockbuster hit, which changed the way I think that they looked at it and went, oh, actually, if we can get really good films at the start of summer, people are going to go see our films.
Yeah.
Whereas now, if you have a film that you hate, you make it available on Boxing Day or Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
or you release it Christmas Day because you know no one's going to watch it. Which, you know,
Which
to be
is
fair, some of them are
weird.
quite funny.
Which is different with TV shows as well. So your big
Yeah,
films,
it
your big
is.
films come out for the summer releases, but TV seasons are
Winter.
normally September to winter and then spring because people are more at home to watch them.
Exactly.
People aren't out about
Yeah.
in the summer, so they're very different.
That's what's quite interesting.
Yeah.
And the cast for this, especially there was two of them, they hate each other. It was Robert Shaw, who played Quint, the cantankerous old sort of boat captain, and Richard Dreyfuss, who played Hooper, the shark expert. The two of them hated each other. They did not get on. They would always constantly have a go at each other. And Robert Shaw at the time, I think he was a massively alcoholic person at the time.
Yep.
So he would always, I think he always turned up very drunk. And I can't remember how it happened, but basically someone said something, says, look, you either sober up or you're off. And I think he turned up the next day completely sober and went, all right, let's get to work. But what was
That's
interesting
one
about him
way
was,
of keeping your job.
well, he had a lot of, I think, tax problems at the time. So as part of his agreement, he was only allowed out of the country for, I think it was like 3 days. So every time they went to film this film, he was only available for 3 days. So they had to fly him from the States to Canada. And after those 3 days, they had to fly him back to the States where he couldn't work for the next 4 days. He wasn't allowed to.
Okay.
And so they had so many problems with this film. And yet it went on to smash the box office. Because people were like, have you heard there's a film out? It's about a killer shark. It's terrorizing the waters. It's based on a book. I can't remember what the name of the book is, unfortunately. I think it is called Jaws as well. And it had a really bad effect on people. I mean, they loved it. They obviously loved it because they went to see it. But it terrified people.
Yeah.
It made them all terrified of sharks, especially great whites in particular. And it caused such a fever of, I don't think hatred's the right word, not anger, fear.
I think fear, yeah, the open water especially.
Exactly. And so people just went out and just started killing great white sharks.
Yeah.
Because they were like, these things are monsters. We have to get rid of them. And the author of this book, well, I think when he heard his film was being made, he was like, oh, okay, cool. And then after he saw it, and he saw the reaction, the people that started going out killing these great whites, he was so horrified with himself. Because he went, I just
in a way.
Yeah, he was like, I've just created this. People are going out and killing great white sharks. And so he now works with great white shark like conservation, or he did. I don't know if he's still alive. Yeah, he tried to get people to stop it. He spent most of his life then trying to teach people that great whites are not. I don't know if is the great white in the shark. I think in the book it said it was a big shark.
Yeah.
And of course, Steven Spielberg was like, "Oh, big sharks. Great white shark. That's probably the biggest thing we've got." Which here's your interesting shark trivia for you. Great white sharks don't actually like the taste of humans. They hate they find us disgusting.
Yeah.
So when obviously people do get bitten by great whites, because I think it's mainly surface they get bitten by sharks, because when from like below, if you're looking up, they kind of look like a seal, which of course great white sharks eat. And so what a great white will do is they will bite you, which sadly, if you've seen the size of a great white's jaws, I mean, they are, they're massive.
They'll sort of test you, won't they? Just to see if you're legit.
They bite you to test you, and then when they bite us, they realize, oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
They'll let go and they go away. But of course, the problem with that is, I'm a big great white shark, but if you see great white shark injuries, the bite that they do is usually pretty fatal.
We're left
because
with a hole in our body.
Exactly. You're left with a massive hole in your body.
Yeah.
But apart from that, great whites are not actually that dangerous to us because, obviously they are, if they bite you. But they don't, we're not their preferred source of food. Whereas you get things like bull sharks and hammerhead sharks.
Yeah.
These things will just go for you because they're like, you're in my line of sight. I'm coming for you.
They don't
which
care.
are way more aggressive. They don't care. They're like,
Yeah.
I've seen you. I'm having you. That's it.
Yeah.
So this poor writer, yeah, he spent most of his time trying to protect great whites after this, and I think it's nice that he did that, but at the same time, you got to feel really bad for him that he had this really iconic idea. It became a great film, but the reaction to it was just bad. It was just negative. And I think it's one of the only horror films that's had that kind of reaction. With films like the ones we've discussed, Alien, Halloween, Friday the 13th, you come out of it and you're like, oh, it scared me. Oh, okay, cool, yeah. And that's it, nothing. With this one, they came out of it going, oh my God, great white sharks are horrendous. We got to go kill them.
We need to do something about it. It's elicited a reaction that we actually need to do something physically about it. Yeah.
But I think in a way, it was kind of good. It was a different type of fear. And especially, I think that's why it affected me, because when I watched it, I'm like, Christ, because you're like, these things are real. They are actually in the ocean somewhere. So if you're out in the ocean, especially in shark-infested waters, you're like, they're below me somewhere, which makes that fear more real. Whereas with, Michael Myers is interesting because technically he's just, I'm putting the air quotes up, by the way, for our listeners. Yeah. He's just a man. Yeah. He could be out there. But with Jason Voorhees and Freddy, you're like, well, they're not real. No, as far as I'm aware, there are no real zombies in the world.
Well, obviously with Leatherface and
Leatherface,
Norman Bates being based on Egeen and Silence of the Lambs being based on Egeen, so there are people like that out there.
Exactly.
It's not many, but there are people.
True, and I think that's films that are based on, especially like the Jaws, your Psychos, your Silence of the Lambs, which you could meet people like that in real life. Yeah. That makes it a little bit more spine tingly because you're like, ooh, if I go stay at this hotel, I wonder what the owner's like. Whereas you then get things like, your Chuckies, you're like, well, I've never met possessed doll.
It's a doll, yeah.
Exactly. And I get so my 3 and 2, I would say they're here because they had that impact. They made me go away and they made me think about one of them made me terrified to, get into bed, which, I love my bed. I love sleeping.
Well, like I said, they both had an impact on the vivid imagination.
Exactly. And that's why I think I had to take out Friday the 13th, because as much as I love that series, I'm just like, well, I could watch them all day long and it wouldn't do anything to me. Whereas these two, every time not so much The Grudge now, because it's not that good of a film, but especially Jaws, every time I go into some pool of water, like I said, I was swimming, we went swimming with the kids the other day, and in the back of my mind, it was that fear was still there. Could there be that thing? And I know it's irrational. I know it is, because it's a kiddie's pool. Yeah. It's literally like 2 feet deep. There's no way a shark could be in there. But that fear is still there from when I
You don't know that.
Film. That's true. It could be an invisible shark. I mean, there's a film out called Ghost Shark.
There could be a shark outside your window right now, okay?
I kid you not. I had a dream about that once. Literally, the whole world had flooded, and I woke up, and there was a shark out my window, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I do want to watch Sharknado. I do want to watch that.
Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time.
Well, no, because that's the point that I wanted to mention before I finish, is Jaws was, in my mind, the shark film. Yeah. If you think about it. Jaws was a slightly bigger than average shark that terrified people. Yeah. And there haven't been that many shark films that have followed. All the shark films that have followed, you've either got someone who is trapped underwater, is being pursued by a shark, or you've then got, instead of a giant shark, it's a giant alligator. It's a giant piranha.
Something or there was Deep Blue Sea, where they're intelligent sharks.
Yes. Oh, that was a good film. I did like that film. But again, it's the same formula. It's like, I know it's a terrifying shark, and it's always a great white shark. That's the thing, because they've made that iconic fear thing. Yeah. Whereas, and obviously, you had films like The Meg, which, I didn't mind it, but at the same time, like, it's it's just Jaws again, though. You're just
It's
doing
just
Jaws
silly.
again.
Yeah.
It's just a massive, massive shark at that point
It's
in time.
big Jaws.
Which is why I thought Sharknado at least did something different. They were like, we want to make a shark film, but stick it in a tornado. It's like, yeah, right, why not? With the guy, I can't remember his name. Who's the guy that plays the lead character?
Is it
It's,
Thomas Jane? It's not
no,
Thomas Jane.
no,
is
that's
it?
Deep
No.
Blue Sea.
Yeah. Oh yes,
I
that's
can't
what I'm thinking.
I can't remember his name.
It's not. They're just not great films. I think
I
they're
mean, they're
made
not
by
great
Asylum. They might be
Yes,
made
they
by
are.
Asylum.
They're made by the
well,
parody one.
that's why. Yeah.
But it's interesting. The main character, do you know what he's also famous for?
Go on.
Ian Ziering. Yes. So he was actually he actually had a voiceover role in the 1990s. Do you know what he was?
No, go on.
He was the voice of Vinny from Biker Mice from Mars.
Oh,
I know.
that's quite a stretch. I think I remember Biker Mice from Mars.
Okay. I remember Biker Mice from Mars.
No. I remember it. Sorry, I remember
You
I
do?
had toys. I don't remember episodes or how they sound. That's what I mean.
Oh yeah, no, I don't remember those
Yeah.
either. I know I have a Biker Mice from Mars issue 1 comic somewhere.
That's pretty cool.
Annoyingly, I also had a Street Shark egg cup, little thing. I found 2 off of eBay. I kept one of them. I kid you not, I cannot find it. I'm slightly worried because it was a lot of money. So I need to find that.
One thing
yeah.
with okay, straight up.
No, we went off on a tangent.
Straight up, Jaws. I don't find Jaws scary. Straight up.
Oh, it's not scary.
What I find scary in that aspect is the sea/ocean. I don't ever go in the sea. Where we go on holiday, whatever. I don't ever go in the sea or ocean, even if it's just paddling. I just don't like it. I find the ocean/sea more terrifying than space because we know more about space than we do the ocean/sea.
That's true. 70% of our oceans is we still don't know what's down there.
It's such a mystery, and to me, that's terrifying. The ocean itself is to me like a horror icon. Yeah, it could be a horror icon because you don't know.
I think
about
it'd be great if they could set a horror film down there, a horror film under the ocean. That'd be great.
There's the Abyss.
Imagine it. Oh, it was the Abyss.
There you go.
Yes. I forgot about that film.
Yeah.
That's the one with that weird ending, isn't it? With the
Jim Cameron film.
Oh yeah, I remember now.
So yeah. Jaws
I
never did anything for me really because I
remember
was always in the mindset of just don't go in the water.
Well,
It's
that's
not
the
going to
thing.
come out on land. Just don't go in there.
Yeah, but I think that's what's interesting is the fact that, and they touch upon this in the film.
Yeah.
Is when Brody is like, you can't send them in the water. There's a shark in the water. It will kill them.
Yeah.
And the mayor's like, we just have to take that risk. You just have to send them back in the water. Otherwise, the town will fall apart.
Yes, that's the way to get around it. Yeah.
Yeah. And even for myself, with my, this fear that there's always a shark no matter where I go, whatever body of water it is, even a puddle. Because let's be faced, there are some deep puddles that you've seen people jump into.
You put your foot in
pothole.
you put your foot in a puddle and the shark's going to come out and grab your foot.
Exactly. Or, you never know. Could be a Hollow Earth, as established in Godzilla films.
Yeah. Oh god.
But it's like you said, I think you touched on it a little while ago when I mentioned it was in my top 5. It was like, just don't go in the water. And that's, again, going back to like how to avoid certain slashes. It's like, if you want to avoid Jaws, you just don't go in the water.
You don't go
But
to
then
Crystal
people
Lake.
are like, people take that risk. They're like, yeah, but I'm on holiday. I want to go swimming. I know there's potentially a shark, but I got to go back in the water.
Bloody humans. Humans are the worst.
We're stupid people.
We are.
We're silly. We're a silly species.
I love that our top 5s are so different. I love it.
They really are. I think I was counting my top 5s. Ooh, no, would that give it away? Ooh, I don't know. If I say what it is, it might give away what my number 1 is.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to keep it secret.
Well, we were going to end this with this part being 3, 2, and 1, but
yeah,
we're gonna tag on a third part to our top 5 horror films with a episode coming probably very soon after this one with our number 1s. So we're just
our
number
number
ones.
We realised they need a little bit more time to be explained.
More time in the oven, yeah.
Not full review, but
No.
there's more reasons why we love them so much that we couldn't probably cram into a short episode.
Yeah. So we'll be coming back for a final part of our top 5 countdown.
Then we've got an interesting episode after that.
We have a holiday
We do.
film, you could call it.
Yeah, a holiday film.
I think we should. We'll let people, listeners, know what it is next time, so in case people need to go watch it and follow along, because it's not a well-known film, like from what we've been doing. Yeah,
we'll give you a week to watch it.
But I think for now, as per usual, this is the Dreadcast, and you can find us on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon/Audible, and Podbean, and YouTube, all by searching the Dreadcast. You can find it all there. Do give us a 5-star rating, please. Please don't give us a 1-star. That would be really, really depressing if you did that. Give it a follow. Give it a follow on all those platforms. As far as YouTube, when you search the Dreadcast, you'll probably find it on 2 separate channels. They being our individual YouTube channels. Mine labeled under Gaming Grindhouse.
That's true.
Yourself.
Mine is under Tainted Souls.
And our other social medias, independent social medias, my Twitter being Tom Grindhouse. And my Twitch streaming platform actually is Gaming Grindhouse as well. Where yours?
That's true. Mine is all Tainted Souls.
All Tainted Souls. He's easy.
Pretty uniform. I'm pretty easy. Mine's pretty uniform. It's got to be said.
Just look for that picture of the ghost.
You do. Just look at the picture of the ghost and you'll find me there.
Yep. And we will be having an Instagram coming soon. It's just taking a bit more time.
Oh yes, that's right.
And you can follow that the news, any news about the podcast, and any new releases on there. I think that's about it. The previous episode 5, is live now with our top 5 and 4 horror films, respectfully. And you can find that on all the services I just mentioned. Oh yeah,
that was a good episode. I like that episode. The thumbnail for that was created by the lovely Tom as well. It was a great one. I liked it. I didn't actually know who I recognized the alien egg, and then when I was looking at the character next to it, I was like, I don't recognize who it is. So when you talked about Martyrs, I was like, oh, of course, I recognize it now. Yep, it's from that.
It's easy to blend 2 posters when they're both black.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
So I figured that was the best way to do it. So until next time, where we get to number 1.
Yeah.
I just watch out for sharks, I guess.
Yeah, just watch out for sharks. Trying
to end it on a public service announcement. Watch out for them sharks, really.
I mean, watch out for sharks. If you can, don't go into the water. Check under your duvets for creepy ghosts.
Check your duvets tonight, people. Shopping malls, great place to hold up.
Exactly, got everything you need there.
And just check on your neighborhood community watch, because there might be a psycho lingering about.
If you see a William Shatner looking dude walking around,
basically, if you see William Shatner,
careful,
report him. I wasn't gonna go that far. I wasn't gonna go as far as you thought.
Shatner in your neighborhood on Halloween.
Slap him.